The Drive-Thru is GTM's monthly news episode and is sponsored in part by organizations like HPDEJunkie.com, Hooked on Driving, AmericanMuscle.com, CollectorCarGuide.net, Project Motoring, Garage Style Magazine, and many others. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor of The Drive-Thru, look no further than www.gtmotorsports.org. Click About and then Advertising. Thank you again to everyone that supports Grand Touring Motorsports, our podcast Break Fix, and all the other services we provide.
Welcome to Drive-Thru episode number 19. This is our monthly recap where we put together a menu of automotive, motorsport, and random car adjacent news. Now let's pull up to window number 1 for some automotive news.
Before we head into automotive news, I want to make a special announcement. Guess what, folks? This is the last episode of season 2. Not the last episode of the show, but the last episode of season 2. 56 episodes into this season. We are wrapping it up with Drive-Thru episode number 19. And as always, we aim to please. So it's going to be a fun one. And we'll talk more about what season 2 looked like in case you're tuning in maybe for the first time and don't know, or maybe miss some episodes along the way. I think we got to start off this month following up with last month. And so, we talked a lot about cars that were becoming zombie cars and disappearing, and a number of station wagons that aren't being produced this year and next year and things like that. And we missed something really, really important. Vehicles that are still available in 2022 with manual transmissions.
My one question is, can you still get a 2016 Dodge Dart with a manual transmission?
I believe you can.
With a warranty.
At your local Dodge dealer.
I'm surprised by the M3 and the M4. Because the previous generation, a lot of the reviews that came out about them said that the car was better with the dual clutch, I guess the auto transmission setup compared to the manual. It said it was just a better driving experience. So I'm actually surprised that they are still catering to the enthusiast by putting the manual in these two cars.
So clearly, Brad hasn't scrolled through the entire list if he's being shocked off the bat. Shocked off the bat with that one, because I didn't know the Chevy Spark came as a manual.
Wait, isn't the Chevy Spark an electric only car, or is it a hybrid? Either way, that's weird.
No, it's an Econobox, right? It's the generation of the Geo Metro, that heritage, that
the
lineage.
The Volt is the little electric one.
So you brought up the Spark. The Camaro's on this list. The Challenger is on this list. But aren't all these cars headed to the graveyard? Didn't they stop production of the Camaro? So these are the ones that are, to your point about the Dodge Dart, the ones that are left over on the lot. In the article, there's an entire list of all these cars. There's actually 34 vehicles in 2022. I think that's pretty impressive that still come with a manual transmission from the factory. I agree with you on the BMW, but there were rumors, not really rumors so much as complaints a couple of years ago by BMW owners saying, why did you get rid of the manual? And then you heard the other side of the coin, BMW say, we're going to be the last ones with the manual. We're going to be the last ones, with a petrol engine and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know what's truth and what's not. I'm glad to see BMW sticking to offering a manual transmission. I will say it's better for the track, especially with the gyros and safety software. I've coached some of these M4s and stuff, and tracks like Shenandoah, you get up on an embankment and the car freaks out. It thinks it's flipping over, shuts down. At least, with the manual, you can pop it in neutral, keep going, and it's not just dead in the middle of the track like I experienced with one of my students. I'd say things that did surprise me on this list were the two Cadillacs.
See, y'all are boring with your things surprising you. I'm surprised to see that there are Mitsubishis. They're still being made here, or not made here, but being sold here.
What's a Mitsubishi? I don't know what that is.
Exactly. Y'all are getting hung up on Cadillac, Camaro, this thing. There is a two Mitsubishis, and you can get a manual, folks.
What really surprises me is the Ford Bronco. I didn't realize.
I didn't know it
manual. I knew the Jeeps. I mean, I had a couple manual Jeeps, but I had no idea you could get the Bronco with the EcoBoost motor and the manual transmission.
That is pretty surprising.
That's cool.
I didn't think that was a thing. Now, all the rest of these, the Hondas, the Hyundais, the GTIs and the Subarus, there's no surprise there. There's always going to be some car with a manual transmission. Same with the Porsches, right? The 911 seems to always, despite the PDK being better, there's always going to be a manual option for the enthusiast. The car I'm most excited about on this list, because I want to go test drive one as soon as they come out, is the Z.
Spark.
The Spark. No, the Z400, right? The Nissan. I think that's really cool. And at the dollar value that the Z's coming in at, that's going to be a driver's car. That's going to be an enthusiast car. And I'm really excited about that. I think the only other one that got my attention that was a little out of left field and still in the realm of the Bronco and the Jeeps was that you can get a Tacoma in 2022 with a manual transmission.
Always. I think like the Wrangler, you'll always be able to get a manual Tacoma as long as they make the Tacoma. I will say that there is a car that's not on this list that is sad panda. It's the Corvette. It's a shame that they don't offer the Corvette with a manual transmission. We knew that the C8 we knew, but I mean, if you think about, I wonder what cars were on this list before, like the previous year or the year before that are no longer on the list, and like which ones of those are disappointing.
You're right, and you know we would need to do that comparison, or maybe some of our listeners already know that information. But you know what? You're right about the Corvette. It didn't even dawn on me. I kept thinking maybe there was a manual C8 out there, but I guess there isn't. So again, some of this is no surprise, like the Miatas and the Mini Coopers and stuff. And there are a few shockers on here to include the Mitsubishi that Tanya pointed out. Something else that we missed during the whole shuffle of last month in the winter recap, Road and Track announced the 2022 Performance Car of the Year.
At what point do they say what it is? There's like 15 cars listed.
Let me break it down for you. This is classic TLDR. Too long, didn't read. Even I got bored about a third of the way through this article, and I was like, just get to the point.
I found it.
I'll get to the point. The winner was the 911. Woo-ha. Whatever. But if you look at this list of cars, it is such a just menagerie, just potpourri of different vehicles. It didn't make sense. How can you declare a winner when on one end of the spectrum you have the Volkswagen GTI and on the other side you have the latest Lamborghini, and then all these cars in between, like the Merc and the Cadillac and a Bentley? I'm like, whatever.
Because this was no ordinary Porsche. As it says, it's God's own Porsche.
Oh my God. Yeah, whatever. Much like the Consumer Report stuff that comes out every year, when you enter the same car twice, AKA the Burrs and the Furs, right? The 86 Subaru and the Toyota as two separate entries in a contest like this, I'm like, yeah, you don't know what the hell you're doing. They're the same car. End of story.
I think they put this list together. These were the only cars where manufacturers had microchips for them. So these are the only cars they were able to deliver at the time. And I love how the Subaru BRZ weighs more than the Toyota GR86. And it weighs more and costs less. So it's a better value.
You get more for less money. That's awesome.
For less money.
Oh, what a mess. So
which one's the winner? Which one's the winner? She said the 911.
It was the Porsche. Yeah. And if you look at it from the hypercars on one side or the super luxury cars like the Bentley, Continental GT and all that stuff, and then the econo boxes basically on the other side, the Porsche sits in the middle almost by itself. It's going to win in almost every category between speed, handling, styling, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, was this really a fair fight? And the other thing I thought that wasn't fair about this article is we've got two entries that are the same car, and we're talking about performance vehicles. Let's call it what it is, sports cars. There's not a single mention of the Miata on this list.
Or the C8
Corvette. Exactly. And I'm like, what?
So you replace one of the Burrs Furs with a Miata. You replace the GTI with a Corvette because it's the only hatchback, hot hatch in this. It's a hot hatch. It's not a sports car. If they're trying to do sports cars, the GTI, I love the GTI. I have one. You have one. Everybody we know has one. It's not a sports car though.
No, it's a compact hatchback. It's cool. They're fun, but it doesn't fight in this fight, right? Everything else on here is rear wheel drive. It's the only front wheel drive car. I'm like, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, I would think the Bentley is all wheel drive.
True.
And the Lambo too.
Rear wheel bias, right?
Yeah, so, I agree with you though. The GTI doesn't fit for me, and the double Burrs separated should be combined and then add the C8.
In other news, we got to now talk about our showcase this month. And for the first time ever in the drive-thru, we have Ferrari as our showcase brand. So Tanya, let's talk about what's going on over our favorite manufacturer from Maranello.
Apparently, our friends at Ferrari, trying to keep up with the Joneses, even though they shouldn't. And I think they had alluded to this a while ago, but unfortunately, what could have just been a rumor and a concept is apparently coming to fruition.
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
But the Ferrari SUV on its way. Yes, I did say the word SUV and Ferrari in the same sentence. I have blasphemed.
Didn't Ferrari's CEO over the last decade say that they will never make an SUV? Ever?
Never say never.
This is the automotive equivalent of when the roof on Notre Dame fell in. This is sacrilege. Ferrari's building an SUV. You're lying to me.
I will say, based on the picture, its stance makes it look less SUV and more slightly smaller compact crossover.
No, that's even worse. That means it's a Fiat Multipla with a freaking Ferrari badge on it. At least if it was the Maserati rebranded or a Stelvio or something, I could get over it. But no, compact crossover Ferrari, get out of here.
I mean, it's very much camouflage to the point of they didn't put vinyl camouflage on it. They literally have a car cover on it. And all you can really see is the windshield. So the true body lines are hard to discern. However, it doesn't look like, a Ford Explorer or something.
Terrible. And what are they calling this turd?
The pure blood, as it's translated.
Sangue. The puro sangue?
Yes.
Yes, the pure blood. Can you believe that? Really?
That's a terrible name for a Ferrari SUV.
Terrible idea. This is heinous. This is a punch in the eye.
This is like that company that we thought died that's still around, Mitsubishi, naming their SUV the Eclipse.
Oh, stop.
Anyone want to wager how much it's going to cost?
$100,000.
How much does a Lamborghini cost? And then add $50,000 to it.
So apparently this thing is going to be north of, it could start as high as $350,000.
What? Come on.
So I can expect to see these in my kids' school's parking lot.
They make a lot of bespoke Ferraris. If there's truly this demand, which I'm curious to know, is there demand for are people clamoring to have an SUV? If not, they should have just made some bespoke ones. I could have lived with there's only 3 in the world, but not something where actually
Ferrari owners are tired of driving their Porsche Macans. That's what it is. And Bentiagas and whatever else they have. All right. So they've lost their minds. And it seems like there are a list of other things that they're trying.
Ferrari is also busy reinventing the wheel, if you will. Not the literal wheel, but the windshield wiper. So Tesla, look out. You got some competition to your laser beams.
Are they partnering with Tesla?
No. Their idea is using compressed air across the windshield, which I like better than the laser beam. Because at least I'm not going to have my retinas burned. Yes, the laser's not going to be that strong. They actually still plan to have a wiper blade. So it's this weird compressed air plus wiper blade because they want a smaller blade that's lower profile, that's not affecting their aerodynamics, which most of the days the windshield wiper's tucked down underneath the top of the hood, kind of tucked in under the cowl anyway. So how is it really impacting aerodynamics? I mean, if you're using them and you're going that fast, it doesn't matter anyway. You're losing speed somewhere else.
I said this the last time. If your car is slippery enough, just like we talked about the Cybertruck, you don't need the windshield wipers. Put a little Rain-X on there, and the uncompressed air as you're driving will dissipate the water off of your windshield. Here's the problem with this. This is literally cutting your nose off despite your face. We're going to develop this highly intricate compressed air miniature wiper blade system, blah, 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 space age technology, to save on something totally idiotic and add 150 pounds of gizmos that'll break when I can go to Walmart and buy a regular wiper blade for $11.
I mean, this, like anything else, is just them having an idea, and what do you do when you have an idea? You patent it so somebody else can't take it. Doesn't mean they're actually ever going to use it, this application, but it precludes anybody else from doing it. So, I mean, yes, they're doing exactly what they should do. Now, in 10 years, if they actually do this, we can criticize them more.
I mean, like I said before, the patent trade office is full of bad ideas. What I'm wondering, though, is you guys know what it sounds like when your wiper blades are like worn out. So what does it sound like when you're driving in the rain and your micro wiper blade is worn out and you've run out of compressed air? Is it like...
It's nothing because you careened off the road because you couldn't see.
But what we're not discussing is how 99.999% of Ferrari drivers, their cars never see
rain,
the street or the rain or anything, and never see the outside of a garage. So who is this wiper for?
This is not the only thing they're patenting.
Oh, really?
So they're on a patent frenzy, a roll, whatever.
The forefront of innovation.
And they will not be left behind, just like they will not be left behind with this whole SUV thing that's decades old.
Even though they're last.
They are not going to be last on EVs.
What?
They are patenting a battery layout for midship mounted batteries. Whenever they do unveil whatever EV they're working on, they want to retain the weight balance of their Ferraris today that are all mid-engine, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know enough about the battery placement and how it warrants the patents, but they're patenting the location or I guess the setup, the assembly of these batteries to be, quote, mid-engine in their cars.
This is something I can get behind. This is something that makes sense outside of these other just things that are complete lunacy, because if they can make the battery pack dimensionally fit in that space and weigh about the same as the petrol motor that they're pulling out, with some sort of transaxle, direct power to the rear wheels and all that, I think it makes sense because they're going to have a performance EV, something that can actually handle, unlike a lot of these, I get it. They do it low center of gravity and they try to disperse the weight across the car. But if they can make a 1-for-1, what does Ferrari care about range? Because to Brad's point, these people are either, maybe they're using them at the track, driving to somewhere, or they sit in the garage a lot of the time. So why not make something as close to the OE as possible?
And lastly, in case you were now getting that little itch for all things Ferrari, it was announced very recently, director Michael Mann, if anyone's familiar with his work, I'm not. He and I think the person who wrote script on The Italian Job are collaborating for this director's passion project, which is a movie about Ferrari, the man. Enzo. So this movie apparently is going to take place back in the 50s and be focused on Mr. Enzo himself.
I like this idea. I looked at the cast photo and I thought this was an article for that new House of Gucci movie, because isn't it like the same people? Is this a sequel to that movie? Like, what is this?
It's not the same people. It is the same main male character. So Adam Driver is again playing an Italian gentleman. He was playing Mr. Gucci in House of Gucci. Now he's going to play Enzo in this movie. But instead of Lady Gaga, we have Penelope Cruz playing, I guess, his wife years. Or whatever.
The name I haven't heard in about 20 years.
She hasn't really done much, has she?
Yeah, what was the last movie she was in? I can't remember. Vanilla Sky?
No, that Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It was terrible.
Good one.
Caribbean?
The Caribbean.
Carabinos?
Well, before this turns into Steve and Izzy show. Shout out. We'll have to catch this one with them in the future. Whenever this eventually comes out. Not much to report on this, but it is a movie that's coming. They getting it all lined up, so it's not in production yet.
If it's like Rush or Ford versus Ferrari, something like that, it could be fun. It's one of those sort of mockumentary almost types of films. So there's no bad guy here. I mean, who's gonna play the villain, right? I mean, whatever. We'll see. It could be fun. It could be entertaining. I guess we got to move on and we got to talk about Porsche, Audi, and VW news. So what's hot right now? Or maybe what's not right now?
Well, a little bit of sad news to start off. I guess it depends on your point of view. Some people probably care less. Some people might be happy. And then there'll be some that are sad to see I don't know that it's iconic, but it's been around for quite a long time. The Volkswagen Passat is finally taking its last cruise as they finally discontinued that model, and the last vehicles have rolled off the assembly line down in Chattanooga, and they've been fitted as Chattanooga Anniversary Edition. So and I know we talked about this some time ago that they said they were going to do this. So there's a bunch of Tennessee touches and inside and things like that for the last model. But essentially the Passat, even though it was not the Passat when it first came over, has been in the US at least since the early 70s. When it was known as the Dasher.
And then it became the Quantum.
And then it became the Passat. So it's had a long history here. It's taken a couple body shapes to get to the most recent rendition, which has always kind of been the larger sedan. It was always class larger than the Jetta in terms of size. And now the Jetta, I guess, is the new Passat because they're the same size. But we digress.
There's an interesting video in this article where they found like the original clip from like 79 or something like that of when the Passat came to the United States, because it came here later than when it was introduced in Europe, obviously. And if you watch it, it's like this yuppie guy in California and this and that. And the guy, he breaks the fourth wall, and the narrator asks him, well, why are you buying a Dasher? And he's like, well, it's better than buying a Buick. And I thought to myself, how that was foreshadowing at that time, because Passat just basically became a big old marshmallow Buick in its last runs. I mean, it's the rental car of rental cars. It's the German Camry. I mean, it's just like blah. And what I think they failed to do with the Passat, they should have gone in the direction of Cadillac with like the V cars. Like they never had a sport version of the Passat that was worth anything. They had a few trim packages and the W8, and every once in a while they'd throw us a bone. But in general, as Tanya would say, it was vanilla. It drove like vanilla. The Passat was just boring. It was always boring. Even as a diehard VW guy, I'm not sad to see it go. And unfortunately, to make matters worse, the best and last Passat, in my opinion, was the B5.5. But even that was an Audi and not really a Passat. So it's like, whatever.
Those are the ones that came 4Motion, the first 4Motions.
Correct.
That was also the one that came with the W8 motor.
Those were nice.
They were a good size. They were good looking. They were the equivalent of the 80s Volvo. I mean, they were that, kind of exciting. But
to me, they were Volkswagen's version of the E39 BMW 5
Exactly.
Series. So it was just like a nice, handsome mid-size sedan, sports sedan.
Like I said, there's sort of other cool Passats, like the one with no grille, as long as it had the VR6, right? Because it was one of the early VR6 cars. That was cool. But like some of the other stuff, you're just like, whatever. Like nobody cares. And that's why it's not sticking around. I hate to say it, because nobody cares.
They kind of replaced it with the Aaron or whatever the hell that car is called. The
Ayrton.
I was behind one of those. I was behind one of those. I was like, oh, look at you.
Yeah, the Arteon. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Ayrton Senna. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I mean, so is the Passat really dead? Who knows? But even then, it got weird with the Phaeton and all this other stuff. And it's like, is it an A8? Is it an A6? Like, I don't know. It's like, who cares?
I think the Phaeton was more Bentley than anything else. The Phaeton was actually a really cool car for features and everything. I think it was far past an A8 of its time, because whoever commissioned that car to be built, I can't remember the names of anybody that worked at VW at that time, but they wanted that car to be the best car on the road at all.
Yeah, that was Ferdinand Piech's like mission, is to make the smooth, to beat Lexus, to have the smoothest, most luxurious, all steel construction vehicle. The Phaeton weighed like a semi truck, and it's basically an A8 underneath. And the sheet metal on the outside, it was like a bloated B5 Passat. It still had the same styling cues. So that was what was hard to swallow. That car was like, I'm going to be
bland looking.
Yeah, you're going to pay $90,000 for a fat Passat. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Get out of here.
Well, if you waited a year, you could pay $10,000 on the
Yeah, and then all the maintenance on the W12 would have costed you $80,000 again.
80, $90,000 on maintenance for the first year.
Other things that confuse me and disappoint me, just like the Passat, is this next article. Yet another Pikes Peak Porsche e-tron records. Like, I tried to read this article. I read it 3 times and I'm confused. Hopefully our audience will get it, because I sure don't.
The Porsche won the record for the largest elevation change in one trip. Is that what I'm understanding?
Is that a record we were looking to beat?
It's like a baseball record, greatest, like most hits wearing 2 left shoes, or most strikeouts wearing tennis shoes with red laces. I don't know. It's
That's
all
insane.
bullshit.
I mean, I didn't understand that one picture of them looks like they're in like a coal mine or something. It's like, what
Yeah,
is this?
I think that's the point. In order to hit that altitude record, they actually started down in this mine and they drove out of the mine.
Oh, okay.
So it had to do a little bit of very light off-roading, if you will.
It's a record Porsche now owns. It's also a record that Porsche is the only one who's attempted.
Right?
It's just, whatever.
The Guinness Book of World Records is full of that shit. But speaking of records being broken,
apparently Lamborghini, somebody aftermarket tuning people, they took a twin turbo Lamborghini Huracan to the drag strip and they took it to Bradenton Motorsports Park in Florida to do a 1/4 mile run. And they, as it says, crossed the finish line, clocked at 7.54 seconds with 186.41 miles an hour top speed, understood to be, quote, a new best. And that time is enough to humiliate the fastest stock production cars out there, including the current king, which is the Rimac Nevera.
This is not a production car. First of all, it's on Mickey Thompson slicks.
Thank you.
It's got yes, if you put a Rimac on Mickey Thompson slicks and you slap however much money was spent on this kit into one of those cars, I'm sure you would beat it.
I don't even think you'd have to do that, because the Rimac on summer Michelin Pilot Sport tires did an 8.58 in the 1/4 mile. So put drags on that and let's see what it does.
Yeah, put drag slicks and yeah.
None of this is important because an 8-second car is slow as dirt. I don't give a crap if it's a twin turbo Lamborghini or the Rimac. 7.5 to 8.5 seconds. Just like, Toretto, you owe me a 10-second car. That's slow. I mean, there's Teslas that are faster than this. There's other cars that are faster than this.
Caveat with this was it's street legal car.
There's plenty
not on Mickey
not on
Thompson
slicks.
though.
No, that's BS. And there's plenty of pro stock cars out there and plenty of American muscle big block cars that'll blow the doors off of both of these that are street legal, quote unquote. So this is a bunch of hype. And that twin turbo kit, that's the same twin turbo kit that's available for the R8, because it's basically the same motor and all that stuff. I mean, who cares? This is old news. Speaking of old news, we ask a lot of times on the pit stop, if you were the last person in the boardroom to cast a vote, and the vote is between the 959 and the F40, which would you choose? So far, all of our guests have answered F40, but have given a justification for why the 959 is quote unquote technologically superior. And so I found it interesting that our friends over at the Porsche Club of America, who, by the way, have kicked off their own podcast recently, they put together an article talking about 9 interesting facts that you might not know about the 959. And what's really important about this article and the research that went into it is that when you stand back and look at what is being shown, you have to put it into the context of the time period. So you look at, twin turbo, big deal. 4-wheel drive, whatever. Manual transmission and all these different kinds of things, off-road capability. You're like, whatever. There's tons of cars that have that now. But when you bring this back to late 1980s technology built on top of 70s 911 chassis, this was a supercar. This was Porsche's first real production supercar. These things are record setting. These are real records being broken by Porsche. These are pushing the boundaries of what could be done at that time in the automotive and really in the motorsports world as well. And so when you compare the 959 to the F40, the 959 is hands down technologically superior. The F40 was primitive. It was still based on, like the 288 GTOs and things like that. It had some Formula One technology in it, but not in the same way that the 959 did. So I think this is a really solid read. And my good friend Manny Albin, who I've known for many, many years, put this together. And I got to give him a shout out So when you have the chance, be sure to check out Porsche Club of America's new podcast. It's called the PCA Insider. And Manny is also one of the hosts on that show. And I wish them all the best of luck as they're building out their platform. So I think that wraps up our Porsche, Audi, and VW news for the month. Let's transition now to the rest of Lower Saxony and talk about what's going on over at Mercedes and BMW.
Somebody woke up.
What?
They woke up and realized those ugly not kidney grill things, beaver teeth. Not a good look.
No.
The bucktooth beaver BMW might be sunsetting.
Lies.
Newer models have smaller sized proportionate grills.
Those two giant grills, at least on the car, were only on the M3 and the M4. I don't think I saw them on any of the other regular.
The X's and the 7s.
Not really. I don't remember seeing those giant.
But the trucks have those huge grills. Remember they compared them? The grills on the front of an X5 are bigger than the whole front end of an E30. Like they're just ginormous. Maybe this goes in line with them returning the manual transmission to the M3 and the M4. Maybe they're starting to listen to their customer base, you know, the enthusiasts saying, hey, BMW, what the hell are you doing? We thought the Bangle period was bad. This stuff is just insane. And I know we've had guests on that sing the praises of the new BMWs, early adopters, all that kind of thing. And I have to agree with some other folks that have been on the show. People buy with their eyes. And if it's ugly, it's ugly. They ain't gonna buy it.
People buy with it. Well, I don't have to see it when I'm sitting on the inside.
That's very true too. But I would be embarrassed. All kidding aside. I mean, I'm glad that they're changing back to something that is more iconic BMW. I don't want to call it pleasant to the eyes or more appealing. I want to label it as iconic BMW. I looked at that car and went, it looks like a BMW. Like every good concept prototype spy photo, what is there and what is reality, they might slap those huge grills back on it again. So, you know. No,
because I've seen some other, they're going to do it with the 8, they're going to do it with the 4, they're going to do it with a bunch of other models. They're already showing the new models coming out and they have the smaller grills, not these big monstrosity things.
That's going to make those giant grilled cars collector's cars. It's a very limited run.
Maybe that was their plan this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the market for a touring wagon, BMW will sure to delight you with the upcoming 2023 3 Series wagon, just as long as you don't live in the United States and you live in Europe. Womp womp.
They're even making an M3 version as well.
I'm okay with all of this. You had me at wagon, and I will say previous generation 3 Series and even 5 Series station wagons are good looking wagons. They lend themselves well to the BMW physique, to the design. I like them. I've never not liked them. I haven't seen an ugly wagon yet. And thankfully, I think the wagons missed the whole weird front end phase. So I'm okay with this. Now, I will say this. It looks a little big. The belt line looks a little high. Kind of reminds me of the Volvos, where they're just sort of stretched up, you know, maybe with a set of nice wheels like an M2 has or an M3 or some sort of M Sport package or whatever. I'm excited for this. And I don't say that very often about BMW, but I am excited about this. We can now finally say that there is no Stellantis news this month. So we're going to take a moment of quick silence in honor of there being no Stellantis news this month.
None that we're apparently aware of.
I mean, we already talked about Stellantis news. The Challenger comes with a manual again.
Okay. All right. So yes. All right. The record is still in place. There is always Mopar news to talk about. But we do have to switch to our other domestic news, sponsored in part by AmericanMuscle.com, your number one source for OE performance and replacement parts for your Chevy, Ford, or Chrysler product.
Ford and GM warn their dealership network to stop overcharging for brand new cars.
Somebody posted the other day, and I was completely flabbergasted by this, one of the sticker ads for a brand new Ford pickup truck. Now, I know the prices of vehicles have been going through the roof, but to see a $52,000 dealer markup, I get the 1997, dealer, what was that? The destination charge we talked about the last time, but 52 grand for what?
I'll buy another car with that money. What the hell?
I get angry at the $595 pinstriping charge. Who the hell is going to pay $52,000 over sticker?
Well, the best
not
part
a
is
Viper.
the pinstriping charge is for the pinstripe you didn't want on the car to begin with.
Exactly.
Like, it's already there.
Terrible.
Exactly. You got to pay money to get it off. The pickup truck that was posted about, it put it like well into like $130,000. I'm like, why? Who? How? I mean, I get that Ford trucks and trucks in general in high demand and things like that, but it's a $52,000 markup. I mean, that's bring a trailer crazy levels of asking price in my opinion.
At your local dealer.
Hopefully something course corrects, or the factories can push back on the dealers and say, hey, you can make a profit, but you can't make this much profit. Or I think it's going to have to take government legislation to step in and say, you're gouging people, you're ripping people off. People buy with their eyes, like we said, but they also buy with their wallets and their hearts. And if you walk in and you see that, you got to walk away.
You should walk away, but you won't walk away because the dealer will slap on 15-year auto loan for a mere 6.5%.
It's like a mortgage.
Yeah.
No thanks. Flipping that coin a little bit and talking about the motorsports world, I'm a little bit excited because as I'm diving more into the new changes that are coming for the classing, especially for 2023 Le Mans, we're seeing a lot more GT3 and GT4 entries, right? And there's a whole series like SRO that are devoted to GT3 and GT4. And Ford has now officially announced their GT3 plans for IMSA. And I'm like, awesome, this is great. But we have to wait another 2 years. I feel like this is a carrot that's being dangled out. I don't think that the Mustang's ever going to go away like the Camaro's gone away. But then again, I'm like, what's going on here? How's this going to work in 2 years? Is that Mustang going to be a hybrid? Is it still going to be a V8? Is a V8 going to be a thing? How does this work with the Corvette, with the whole balance of power thing? The Mustang's at a disadvantage right now against other cars that are in its class. And so I'm really curious to see how this all plays out. I'm really excited that Ford is coming back. I just wish they were coming back in 23 to compete with everybody else that's going to be on the big stage. We don't know if they're going to be an LMDH, with some sort of prototype. I mean, the Cadillac was re-revealed again with some new videos and things like that. And it looks super cool. I'm really excited about that. I mean, go GM. That's awesome. I think coming to the stage in 23 without something big from Ford I feel like it's a mistake.
Yeah, maybe they did the latest iteration of the Ford GT a little too soon, and they should have timed it from a marketing standpoint a little differently to coincide with the 100 years of and all that. I'm excited for a GT3 Mustang, mainly because in 30 years, when they're all on racing junk for 15 grand, I can go ahead and pick one up.
Nice. I like that. That's forward thinking. That's solid strategy there. I like that.
Bold strategy.
I don't generally commute a lot, especially into the city, but I did this month many, many times. And, it gave me an opportunity to see what's hot on the road, just kind of scanning traffic. And you know what I spotted? I spotted a Taurus X. Can you believe it?
What is a Taurus X?
Exactly. It's not a new car. It's quite an old car. And it's like this Taurus that's not an SUV, is a station wagon, but it's sort of like the original Pacifica when they reintroduced it. Remember that thing that like up on stilts, but it's a wagon, but it's an SUV. And I looked at it, I said, yeah, somebody actually bought one of those. I was actually really proud of that guy. And I was also proud of the fact that it's still on the road after like 20 years it was been produced. But again, I didn't know.
You mean the Ford Freestyle?
Is that what it is?
This is exactly what it is. Yeah.
It looks like a Flex too. It's weird.
Yeah, it was the Ford Freestyle. And then I guess they rebadged it as the Taurus X to give it, some clout because, the Taurus name carries with it some pedigree, but it replaced the Freestyle.
Yes, we're just going to leave it right there. It was yes. It was yes. So that being said, all kidding aside, I actually saw 2 Mavericks this month on the road, brand new. Here's my first impression. Explorer Sport Track. Look at that. And then I went, oh, no, wait, it's a Maverick. It looks like a sport track at first glance, that weird SUV in the front, mini pickup truck in the back. Size-wise, it's like a step up from the previous Ford Ranger, like when they stopped making the Ranger. So it's actually a decent size. It's not F-150 big. and it's not as big as the Ranger. So I think as a small pickup, it's good. It's bigger even than the Sport Track was, but it's got that shape. The front is reminiscent of the last generation Ranger, the pre-EcoBoost Ranger and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what to think of it, but one thing did get my attention. The Maverick on the back is huge. I mean, it reminds me of like a square body Chevy. I mean, it just takes up the whole tailgate. And then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, well, where does the license plate go? And then I spotted it. It's off to the right side of the receiver where the trailer, where the trailer hitch goes. It just looks so awkward. Everything's out of proportion because the license plate sits off to the side, really low too. It's kind of bizarre. That's the one kind of styling cue that I was just weirded out about.
I don't know that I've ever seen one on the road, but I don't know why they needed to make this if they have the Ranger. Like when I've heard people talking about this, I thought it was a trim level of the Ranger maybe.
No,
I didn't realize that it was its own standalone truck, because looking at it, it looks like it's not body on frame. It looks like it's unibody. Yeah. So I guess the Ranger's body on frame, this is unibody.
For all we know, it could be a Sport Track, just with new sheet metal.
Yeah, because the Sport Track was based on the Explorer.
Overall, I liked it. I will say the first one I saw, I wasn't a fan of the color. It was this weird blue, the ones you kind of see in the press pictures. It doesn't look as good in real life as it does in picture. And the other one was like I gotta say it this way, it was like a diarrhea brown. But it wasn't bad. I mean, I was actually okay with that. It's like a paper bag color. That wouldn't be the first color I selected, but whatever. So that was cool. I thought that was neat to see a Maverick on the road this soon after us talking about it coming. I was like, that's cool. I'm curious to see what else comes out here in the next year or so.
So when does the Raptor version of the Maverick come out? How soon until we start seeing them in an HPDE event?
Hey man, send it. We got to talk about our friends over at GM.
So they're doing some investment. Obviously, they've gotten into the electric car race as well. And they've got a facility in New York, Lockton Components, that makes a lot of parts specifically for GM radiators, condensers, HVAC, oil coolers, things like that. And so this facility is actually going to get a big upgrade thanks to GM dumping some money into it to build a bunch of electric motor components there. So expanding kind of their component train in US based and in bringing jobs and in investing in their EV future.
We talked about it on a previous drive-through where GM was using 3D printing technology to make race parts. Will they be incorporating some of this technology into these EV parts?
That's a very good question.
Time will tell, I guess.
I also feel like GM is spending a lot of money. Every time we turn around, I hear the word GM and investment in the same sentence. Remember, they invested a ton of money in Nikola. They invested a ton of money in the Lorton factory. They invested a lot of money in all these things. What's coming of it? I mean, I get that it takes like a decade for this stuff to come around full circle.
What's coming is they're not paying taxes.
There's that, right? They're taking a loss on this. But I feel like even Ferrari is going to come to the table with this EV, CUV, monstrosity, pure blood thing before GM gets their first legitimate EV out there that isn't the Volt.
So there was the Volt
and the Bolt.
No, because they're coming up with the Lyric. So Cadillacs is supposed to be coming out within the year and late this year or next year.
And the Hummer's still GM, right? Nobody else bought it.
I don't believe so.
I think it's GMC, which is GM. It's all the same.
Well, Brad, I'm glad that you're back because we haven't had a lot of Corvette news since you've been absent from the drive-through, and suddenly you come back, and now there's all this Corvette stuff in the news. What's going on now?
I'm not saying I inspire all this Corvette stuff, but GM kind of does it for me only. So the Chevy Corvette is celebrating 70 years. And how are they doing that? With an anniversary package, which I haven't read this article yet, but I'm guessing it's just a bunch of badges and colors and bullshit like they did for the 50 year. So let's see. Including as unique badging, special colors, and lots of red trim. Yeah, so it's an appearance package. GM is all about the appearance package. They did the same thing with the Camaro for the Camaro's 25th anniversary. The Corvette 50th anniversary was a special maroon color, I think, with the magnesium wheels and whatever bullshit. I just said it. It's bullshit. This is you're going to pay $52,000 markup at the dealer for a base Stingray.
if you can get one. Now, I will say I like it. I think it looks good. Those wheels are really nice. And the little red trim, especially because it's coming in black and white, I think it kind of reminds me in a weird way of like the GTI trim package, right? Where it's like just that little thin red line makes all the difference. And it actually looks pretty cool. That's a lot because I'm not the biggest fan yet of the C8, especially the back. Those profile shots, I think it looks pretty slick. Good on them.
No. I mean, they definitely do a good job with them. I don't see anything about the price for this package when it comes out, but I can tell you that it's not going to be worth the price. It's a good looking car,
Guaranteed.
but it is not going to be worth the price.
One last sad bit of Chevrolet news, which we're
tying it in all together with our first story.
That's right, we are.
We mentioned how surprising for that Chevy Spark to be offered in a manual, but folks, you better jump on it. After August of 2022, there will no longer be Chevy Sparks available off the line. They are being discontinued.
Collector car alert.
Funnily enough, the picture in the article even shows the manual version.
If there was an automotive investment opportunity, this is it.
I
gotta get your manual Spark.
I gotta ask, would you drive one?
Like as a rental? No, not at all. Why? Why would I be buying this? I would totally get the Corolla hatchback.
I agree. I saw one of those driving around this month too. They're pretty cool looking. It was in a weird blue color, like this like robin's egg electric color. It was striking. I was like, man, that's the new Corolla like sport hatchback.
You can get the Midnight Murder packages on it too.
Yeah.
Ooh. I was just going to say no because I do not fit.
I would drive a Spark under one condition. If it was a fully prepped B-spec race car, I would drive a Chevy Spark 1,000% because
sure,
I think it would be a lot of fun.
This wouldn't even be B-spec. This would be D-spec.
He's using the Forza classifying system.
Yes. You buy one, the base model is F-spec, and then you drop 150 grand into it to get it up to D.
I didn't say I was building the race car. I said I would drive it. And this over something like the Honda Fit.
I do love, okay, so all jokes aside, you can pick up a brand new one of these cars for 15 grand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So I would buy this. If I was in the market for a new car and I was not 6'4", then I would totally consider one of these for just a putting around town, normal commuter car. 15 grand when the average average cost of a car right now is close to 50.
Let's take that back. That Maverick is something like in the 20s. So would you rather have the Maverick or the Spark at that point?
Well, the Corolla hatchback's 20.
Yeah, I think I'd still go with that. It's the closest I can get to a Yaris, right?
So we basically just explained why the Spark is going away because of the Corolla hatchback.
Wasn't there a Spark Turbo? Wasn't there like some goofy add-on thing from the factory, like special version or something like that?
I think it came with the Tornado that you used to see on infomercials that would help with fuel economy.
You hit a slap chop on the dashboard and it spins up the turbo.
Yeah. It came with a tube that came from the engine compartment into the cockpit, and you blew into it, and it forced induction into the motor.
That's awesome. Oh man, lean is mean. Keep blowing that air in there.
Is Chevy going to release it with a special appearance package?
They should sunset it with some special trim packages.
Yeah, it's black and white with little red lines.
It's the what year anniversary? Does anybody even care?
They could call it
10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Decade.
The 10-year anniversary of the Spark, the car
okay,
that nobody knew existed. Nobody knew was leaving.
Let's take this back. Let's take this back just one more time. Buy a Passat or a Spark?
I
think the Spark's got more style. So I would totally buy a Corolla hatchback.
That's awesome.
No, the answer is Toyota GR Yaris.
It always will be. That's for sure.
Yes.
So this has actually been a great month for news. We've had Corvette stuff come up. We're talking about manual transmissions. People are breaking records, appearance packages, all this fun stuff. We don't have any Stellantis news to really talk about, but you know what we do have instead? We've got JDM news. This is awesome. So let's dive into this. And the one that got me right off the beginning of the month, Toyota, the Gazoo Racing team, has unveiled their GT3 concept car. And just like the title of the article says, it left me with questions.
It looks like the Batmobile.
My first question was, is this a Toyota powered Mercedes? Because it looks
Yes.
like an SLS. Right?
Yes.
I was like, what is this? Is this
Toyota
like
is all about partnering with
and because of
everybody
that-
to save them money.
And because of that, I like it.
It-
Looking like that Mercedes is not a bad thing.
No, it's good looking. I'm really shocked that something like this would come out of the Toyota design studio. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool. Who knows? To Brad's point, maybe this is some cooperation like they did with on the Supra, right? Between hopefully it isn't a BMW and they're not going back to that well yet again. He's right on point when he says that, because all of their sports cars, whether it's the 86 or it's the Supra or whatever, it's in combination with somebody else, right? It's a cooperative effort. So I'm really curious to see where this comes from. Doesn't look or read like it's a Lexus with different sheet metal, like they've tried to do in the past, like the RCF and things like that, which we'll talk about more when we cover Rolex. And this is cool. I'm curious to see where this goes.
I think it's just going to go as a race car in the GT3 class, much like that Mustang. I would love to see something like this eventually end up into production. I don't see that ever happening, but or it may have to if this is going to be a real race car. But
or it ends up in Gran Turismo before it ends up on the street. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Kind of like the Mazda Furai, which was super cool looking, same kind of thing, like just blows you away. Even if you look at it today, 10 years later, you're like, oh, the Furai is awesome. Just never came to fruition. It never happened. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the next car on our list. And it's a car that's come up before. And Tanya talked about it when we talked about new EVs and concepts, before we devoted more time to the Japanese market. It was the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And it's now being titled as one of the best affordable electric cars yet. I have to take a pause here because I'm going to say something I didn't think I was going to say. I like this.
It looks good.
I like it a lot. And the more I read about it, the more I like it. It would be a hard decision to make between this and the Mach-E, because I'd like the Mach-E as well. I like the way it looks, especially in certain colors and things like that. Again, buying with my eyes. But I started to dive into the numbers a little bit because I will be honest, I'm not a dinosaur. I do love my petrol. I wanted to do a little bit of homework because if this is one of quote unquote the best, what's so good about it? So I wanted to dive into the numbers. I wanted to do some comparisons between the driving I've been doing this month with, an older petrol car against something like this Ioniq 5. And you can read all about the Ioniq 5 in our show notes and figure out how wonderful it is. But I want to get to a deeper conversation here. And so one of the things that I think has eluded us for a while when we talk about range anxiety and things like that is that there is no simple way to convert and compare a gallon of gas to unicorn farts, right? And so I actually found there were some equations that were put out by Stanford about like EMPG and like how it converts, all this kind of thing. So I kind of boiled it back and I got down to a single very important number. 1 gallon of gasoline has 100% of the energy of 33.7 kilowatt hours. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, that's something tangible. I can work with this. So I started to break it down a little bit further. I'm not trying to go into a whole math lesson. So I'll kind of tell you what I discovered here and why this is important to the larger discussion and the future of EVs and how we grasp this as car enthusiasts, right? So 33.7 to 1 is the ratio. The Ioniq 5 has a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery. So you kind of look at that with 77, that's a low number. 100 is good, triple digits. We think like horsepower, right? Bigger numbers are better. But in reality, 77.4 kilowatt hours is roughly equivalent to 2.3 gallons of fuel. So it has a 303-mile range. People start flipping out about that number. A lot of gas cars have about 300 miles of range. So they're trying to give you this equivalency. That's 2.3 gallons into 303 miles is an average of 132 miles per gallon. There is no gas motor or diesel motor on the planet right now that can achieve those numbers. I'm sorry. I finally have come to this realization. Okay, fine. Here's the downside. And it dawned on me in a conversation that I had with one of our previous guests, Crutch, who's been on the show a bunch of times. He has a Volkswagen ID4. He mentioned that his ID4 has the equivalent horsepower to about 225 gas horsepower. And I said, okay, wait, hold on a second. I took that back to the Hyundai again. And I said, okay, The Hyundai's single motor model manages 225 horsepower, just like the ID4, and 258 pound-feet of torque, roughly the same as a 2-liter Volkswagen TDI. Now, I know what that feels like. I know what that drives like, so whatever. The Ioniq weighs almost 4,000 pounds. So that got me thinking, like a racer, power to weight ratio. So power to weight ratio of the Ioniq is 92.96 because it gets all converted to watts per kilogram, right? And all this kind of thing. I wanted to know, without going to drive one of these, what does it drive like? What's it going to feel like? Because it's a heavy car at the end of the day with, let's think about it as a small motor, not really about the battery or the range. So when I started to kind of back calculate and figure out what cars that were equivalent to this, I couldn't find something that was like right on the money. I could find things that were close. And in my mind, then I could wrap my head around the whole idea because I've driven these vehicles before. So let me put it in perspective for the listeners. A Pentastar 3.6 liter Jeep Grand Cherokee is roughly faster than this Hyundai. Also in that same category, the 2.0 turbo Audi Quattro Q5. So if you've ever driven one of those, kind of CUV, SUV, then you have an idea of what this is roughly going to feel like. Obviously, power delivery is different because the electric power plant, all this kind of stuff. Cool. So we kind of put that all in perspective. It's just like any other mid-size SUV, V6, or high-strung turbo 4-cylinder. So then it got me thinking, well, how much would it cost to operate in general? So to fill it from zero is $11 because the average in the US is 14.19 cents per kilowatt hour, right? So I just took the number and just multiplied it out. It's $11 to fill from zero. And the driving that I've been doing this month, rough mileage and kind of figured it all out, it would basically cost me $18 a week to operate the vehicle, running the mileage that I ran, just basically charging the car every time I got home. And I ended up spending close to, with the current, price of gas right now, I was up in the neighborhood of $100 in fuel. So the cost savings overall better. The upfront cost of the vehicle, obviously there's that. There's a lot of things to weigh in here, but if you're considering an EV or you're digging your heels in about how petrol's better, I kind of encourage you to sit back and do the math. And I'll share my math in the follow-on article if you want to take a look at it, just kind of how roughly I got. You can tell me I'm wrong too. I'm totally okay with it. I am not a scientist or a mathematician, just an average Joe like you trying to figure out how this makes sense and what the future does look like.
Okay.
Thanks for joining my TED Talk.
My only thoughts on all that is, yes, so savings came to $82 a week in your test case. $82 a week, so that's what, $240 a month.
Mm-hmm.
How much is a car payment going to be on a $40,000 car?
Yeah, that's the part I didn't want to look at.
As opposed to a vehicle you already own?
Correct.
Well, that's the thing with any car purchase, though, right? Like if you already have a car, it really makes no sense to ever change your car. You can never recoup it.
Right. So unless you're in the market for a new car.
If you are in the market for a new car, go electric. But if you really want a WRX station wagon,
move to Australia.
That's right, because we're not going to get one. Sorry, folks.
That's okay. This thing's but ugly.
What?
I was just thinking it looks just like the Buick.
That's what yes. Although I think the Buick looks better.
So Subaru is selling a Buick wagon in Australia with a CVT transmission. This thing is a waste of time. Why are we talking about it?
I don't know, but you know what else is a waste of time? How about spending $111,000 on Bring a Trailer for a 2000 Acura Integra?
I'm going to defend this a little bit.
Oh, please do.
No, I'm not defending $112,000, but this Integra, the engineering that went into this car when Honda created it is very similar to the amount of engineering and over engineering that Toyota put into the Mark IV Supra, as far as overbuilding the motor and everything like that. This particular Integra Type R model is actually a very special car. It still only had like 200 some odd horsepower or whatever it was, but Honda overbuilt the car and used special materials and engineering when they created the car. So I say they are collector's items and they are worth something. I don't think it's worth $112,000, but I'm also not in the market.
I don't know what to say because I am a fan of front wheel drive cars, but I could never see spending this kind of money on the equivalent of basically a shit box. I mean, as good as it is, or was, or whatever, to your point, it's still a 200 horsepower front wheel drive car that any other car in the year 2000 obliterated this thing. I can name 12 of them right now, to include the E46 M3 and any 911, and just about anything is better than this. And you could buy one of those used right now for less money or the same, like especially the BMWs. E46 M3s, they're starting to gain some traction on the used car market, but you can still buy a reasonably priced BMW from the 2000s and have a way better car.
Don't know if it's necessarily a way better car, maybe a way better driving car.
But hold on a second. Can't you buy a brand new Corvette for like 60
Yes.
grand?
Yes.
No.
So you could buy two almost.
Well, dealer
Corvettes.
markup is
you-
60.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
$60,000 dealer market.
Right. So you could buy one Corvette for the price of this Integra.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's buying this as a collector piece that has 6,600 miles on it. That's the only reason. It's clean.
It is.
Otherwise, this thing is
clean
worth,
car.
move the decimal point a couple places over.
Yeah.
I mean, these cars
11
were
grand.
35 grand when they were brand new, which was actually a lot of money in 2000.
I wouldn't have paid that then. I mean, I don't know. I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong, but I don't know. But speaking of wrong, Toyota builds autonomous self-driving Supra. Why?
They built it to test their autonomous driving capability, which is pretty cool actually when you consider what they've done is they are autonomously drifting a car around a course. So it does know where the barriers are, but it doesn't know how to navigate the barriers. So it navigates them drifting. So it's still able to negotiate the changing speeds and the changing traction by itself. So in terms of their technology capability, that's pretty cool.
But how many pedestrians did they avoid?
Well, they didn't hit the barriers.
It's +1 for Toyota.
But I love that we're excited about this. But isn't this the same thing Audi did like 5 years ago with the TT, where they made it run on track at full speed with nobody driving it?
But driving under control was different than driving.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
drifting.
they just did a thing at the Consumer Electronics Show too, where college kids or whoever they were, they took the Indy cars basically and they made them self-driving around the oval or whatever that they had set up in Nevada. So it's like, okay, but they had a fixed course. They weren't trying to drift. They weren't trying to be on the edge of traction and control, right?
I would rather be on a racetrack with this than Andrew Bank and Forza 7 any day. Just gonna put it out.
I mean, they're not saying this isn't about like, oh, the new Supra is going to be autonomous and you'll be able to like drift. No, that's not the point. It's just, yes, they use the Supra to do this. It's a testing apparatus for them to test autonomous driving and not just beta test it with people driving through San Francisco.
Had they done this with a Camry, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I mean, I'd still like to see a Camry drift. I think that would be pretty exciting.
I mean, if you read through the article, apparently someone's already done this with a DeLorean. So
yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Come on now. The fact
Oh,
that
now it's cool.
because you know why it's
the
cool?
fact that it's
the fact that it was capable of drifting.
There you go. Because a DeLorean weighs like 9,000 pounds and makes like 100 horsepower. Those things are like terribly underpowered. I know that's an exaggeration, but if you look at the power to weight numbers, not to go back into that math lesson around the DeLorean, it is terrible. Like it was not a joke in that movie. It struggles to get to 88 miles an hour. The top speed on a DeLorean is like 106. And I think it has to be going downhill with a semi truck pushing it because it's so pathetic. Granted, I love those cars. I think they're fantastic. I'm not hating on them. I am still waiting for my EV version to come out, but it's all good. But speaking of flux capacitors,
apparently there's a recall on Hyundais and Kias. Anything from 2016 to 2018, the Santa Fe's, the Fe Sports, the Tucsons, the Kias in the same year range, even a little bit older, 24 to 2016, their Sportages are all being recalled because apparently there's a defect in the anti-lock brake system and something short circuits and essentially they can turn into flaming balls of fire. And so it's being suggested strongly recommended that you not park your vehicle inside a garage or anywhere that could light your house on fire, as that is a potential. However, it is still perfectly safe to drive these down the road.
This is becoming more common. Have you guys realized almost every month even over the last course of season 2, we've talked about Chevys that could spontaneously combust. There were Toyotas, there was the Chryslers, the Hyundais.
It's all a plot. It's all a plot.
IEV,
It's all a plot about the dangers of gasoline cars. All they do is spontaneously explode all the time.
In the combustion chambers, you're right. They spontaneously, yeah, never mind. I mentioned earlier about spotting cars in the wild. The Ford Taurus X and the Maverick were not the only things I saw on the road. I did see some interesting JDM cars. As I mentioned, I did see the Corolla Sport hatchback. I thought it was really cool. I got to see that several times. That guy was easy to spot in traffic every day. And then I actually noticed something out of the corner of my eye, and I sped up to take a look at it because I'd never seen one before. And I thought it was another Toyota Corolla hatchback, but actually it was the Hyundai Elantra Sport. And if you haven't seen this car, it's like better than the Veloster, not maybe performance wise, but it's more of like a GTI. I thought it was a good looking car. I was like, man, Hyundai's really putting out some neat stuff. We're not hearing about it. Or maybe we're just not in that circle, of Korean cars and whatnot. But I kept looking. I was like, man, that's the coolest GTI that Hyundai's built yet. So anyway, yeah, the Hyundai Elantra GT Sport.
There's an inline version as well, like a GT
Yeah,
Sport
yeah.
in. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool. And the Veloster N is a neat car. I mean, the looks you got to get used to, but performance-wise, I've said it before, it's a really good performing car. It's surprisingly good. I think it would be a hard toss-up for me between that and the Civic Turbo. The Civic Turbo is a much bigger car, but the Veloster N is actually a really capable vehicle. But you know what else I did see on the road? I saw the newest Prius.
Very angular.
I don't understand it because the previous Priuses, they weren't beauty queens by any stretch of the imagination. But what I don't get is the back. Like they took the previous Prius and it's like they just grabbed it and squeezed it and yanked it and stretched it. And it's just like, when you watch a kid with a marshmallow, and it begs the question, why do they have to continue making it look so strange? Why can't the Prius just be a Corolla sedan with an EV power plant in it, like with maybe some, I don't know, different wheels or something? Like, why does it have to look so weird? It stands out. Maybe that's the point, is people get people to go, ooh, ah. Now, there was another, what I'd like to call Asian car on the road that I saw that I don't understand. And I say it's Asian because it's made by Tata, and Tata is an Indian company. And it was the Jaguar I-Pace EV 400. I honestly felt like I could drive underneath of it. The back end was so tall. The rear glass was so short and so angled in that sort of like, what do they call it now? The Atlas or whatever Sportback thing where I don't even know why I had rear glass. It's bizarre. Glad somebody bought one. Good for Jaguar that this thing's out there.
That back is like a nice bench.
Yeah, you could definitely sit up there, but it's also flat like a wall.
You can eat your lunch on the back of it real nicely.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah. The birds will perch up there and poop down the side of it. It'll be perfect. So that wraps up our JDM news. So now we need to move into Brad's favorite section, Lost and Found. So what do we got this month?
I wanted to go ahead and go back to cars.com and see what the oldest they have categorized brand new vehicle you can buy is right now on the market. And as of today, you can purchase a brand new, again, it's categorized as brand new, 1988 Cadillac DeVille base for a whopping $18,000.
What?
Yeah. There's no picture. We should send John Cafisi to this dealership because it's in his hometown.
Oh.
Gray Chevrolet in Stroudsburg, PA.
Wow.
Another quote unquote brand new car that they've listed is a 2005 Ford GT. If anybody remembers, that's when they brought back the GT the first time.
Yep.
It's got the 5.4 liter motor from the Ford Lightning, obviously souped up with the supercharger and all that good stuff, with a bigger supercharger and all that. $450,000. It's a steal.
And it's low mileage because it never ran.
Oh yeah, this is Jeremy Clarkson's own, so it never ran. So no, it's got 13,000 miles, so that's actually probably high mileage for one of these cars.
It's like some guys used to say, you never buy a Jag that doesn't have high mileage because it didn't run.
We've got put it in the bank. I tried convincing Andrew to buy this car. He was not interested, sadly. I think he really should. He could use it. There is the cheapest Dodge Viper GTS on the internet right now. It's in Albuquerque, New Mexico for $16,000. It's a 2002 Dodge Viper GTS, basically back end. It starts at the windshield and goes back, but there's no motor. There's no anything with this car.
I mean, there's an
a hood. No,
exhaust.
there's
yeah,
parts.
yeah. There's like a bumper or something. I don't know.
This is like what were those model kits? the Tiesto model kits or whatever they were.
It's going to need a windshield though. That's 100%.
I love that you're looking at this and you say it definitely needs a windshield. I love that you focused.
Well, I want to leave something to the audience's imagination, because you definitely need to check this out in our show notes, because I definitely would not put this in the bank. That's for sure. I would save my pennies. I might almost buy that Chevy Spark instead of this Viper.
But if any of our listeners are on Instagram, please DM to the bank and make sure you DM this ad and let him know that it is still for sale and he should buy this, because he does not have enough Dodge Vipers as it is right now.
1,000%. And if you want to learn more about that, check out this month's episode with Havoc Performance, all about Vipers and Andrew and his Vipers.
Oh yes, there is a Geo Metro.
Ooh, our favorite car.
Yeah, this is a fan favorite here at GTM. This one's kind of special because it takes two fan favorites. It takes the Geo Metro and it takes the LS conversion, and it puts them together. So yes, there is an LS swapped Geo Metro. Sadly, it's not the convertible. That would have been too perfect. I was going to say, Jalopnik has the brown Volvo wagon. We've got the LS swapped Geo Metro convertible.
I want to know, is it still a Geo with the Chevy badge, or is it the Aveo? Is this that weird period? But none of that's important, because
it is a Geo with the Chevy badge.
But what is important is when I scroll down to about the third picture and you see the view from the trunk, I'm speechless. I don't even know how this works. Let me describe it for the folks that are going to be like, I'm not going to waste the time looking at the article. Think of it this way. The motor's in the trunk and it's in their transverse, and it's still an LS. I don't understand any of this.
Yeah, I don't think they ever mounted an LS motor transverse in any vehicle.
I'm trying to think what transmission this. I mean, I'm spending way too much mental effort on this that is necessary.
It does have an automatic transmission though. It comes with the 4T80E from a Cadillac. So I don't know. I don't know how they made it that. Maybe a custom bell housing. Andrew Bank, please buy this car too. Park it on top of your Viper.
And this is the best part. This car is listed for sale for a $7,000 firm price.
I know what I have. Okay. All things considered, I would almost say that this car is worth buying it for the motor itself. Except it's just a 5.3 liter. It's not the 6 liter.
Okay, let's back it up for 1 second before we move on. I want to know the conversation or the bet or what that started this. Like, who literally said, I got it out there, pour LS in that Geo out in the backyard, to waste the time and the resources and the effort and all the custom fabrication. I mean, unless this guy was bored, I don't understand.
Daniel, are you listening?
I can build it myself. I can build it better.
Daniel, you need a motor for that BMW you bought.
With all that said, I think it's time we move on to random new EVs and concepts. And first up this month is an Alfa wagon, but this is an Alfa, ALFA, as in Alfa Romeo. This is Alfa as in ALPHA, a brand none of us have ever heard of before. So continuing on this whole thing that's been going on for the last couple of years in boutique brands, here's yet another one to the list. The clickbait got me at the wagon part, and then when I opened it, I didn't read it and clicked the close tab as fast as I could. This thing is terrible.
I think it's awesome.
What?
Looks wise. It looks like a wagon Scirocco.
It looks like I took it and bent it over my knee. I mean, what is this thing?
I love the fender flares. I love the back end. I love the profile. I love the whole thing. Sign me up. Ooh, I love the off-road version down below. The stubby tires.
There's worse things than this. I think it could be cleaned up. A couple lines could be cleaned up on it. The side profile reminds me of like something from decades ago. A Volvo, maybe. I don't know. something.
It's just-
Yeah, with for the corners, it does remind me of something old school, but it looks really cool. Yes, it looks like
Yes, I
a
see it's
boomerang.
curved. The surfboard on the top that's curved, it follows a curvature. You can tell.
it looks bent.
It's
Just
a coupe.
It-
Oh,
It's a
they
wagon coupe.
they need to pull the nose forward so it doesn't triangulate back. That's what's drawing the line weird, because that's not even a very steep hood compared to
no, it's not.
Other
I mean,
things.
the back is reminiscent of some older Astons, in my opinion, from the side, from the straight on view of the back. It's just kind of blah. I mean, it has those 4 round lights like an old Ferrari. It has inspiration from different vehicles, but I don't know that we needed to marry an Outback with the Ferrari station wagon and whatever that front end is off of a Dasher. It's never going to get built. Let's be serious. Who the hell is Alpha that isn't Alfa Romeo?
Well, before we move on, I will say Alpha is taking reservations for this car.
At what dealer network?
The same dealer network as Tesla.
Oh, okay.
www.alpha.com, probably.
Well, if you're interested in other EVs that aren't cars, but trucks and other workhorses, if you will, there's a Car and Driver article that goes through a long list of other EVs that we didn't even know were coming. So there's a bunch of different buses or vans, things of that nature. Apparently Amazon has a deal with Rivian delivery trucks.
Cute. They're so cute.
And they're very futuristic. They're very cute looking. There's even Honda has a work vehicle that's, it looks like they look like the things that run around the airports. I don't know what
Yeah.
you call those, but
Yeah.
the guys drive them, pulling the luggage and all that kind of stuff. The interesting one on here too is the John Deere autonomous tractor.
That looks like a Pokemon. Like, I was like, what is this?
It looks so weird. It's got like alien thing coming out the front. I don't know.
It's bizarre.
There's some off-road snowmobiles. The Polaris, it's got an EV, which just sounds frightening. It looks like they're out in the Arctic. I hate to have that battery die.
The Polaris, they didn't do a whole lot. They put an EV in an existing Polaris, and
Sure.
it's like, all right,
No,
whatever.
yeah, it looks like any other one. And then the last one is interesting, is the Freightliner tractor trailer. It looks like it's out of Tron.
That thing is awesome. I know it's an appearance package, but I'm in love with that tractor trailer for the Tron livery that's on it. I think it's cool. I will say I was delighted to see a brand returning to the list. We talked about them last month, and that's our friends over at Canoe. They have it, MPDV, whatever that stands for. This is a vehicle that I built when I was 5 years old out of Legos.
It does.
With one
It
brick and
does.
4 wheels.
It does. It's very utilitarian.
I like the
Delivery truck, I guess, is what you would use it for. I mean, it could be a lifestyle
multi-purpose.
vehicle, it could be a minivan or light duty. So
MPDV is multi-purpose delivery vehicle. Give it some knobby tires, lift it a little bit, and then
there you go. Take it off road.
Mhm.
Hashtag, van life. Take it camping.
Yeah, hashtag van life.
Speaking of utilitarian vehicles, so we've talked about before Bollinger, another, off-brand that nobody's ever heard of, and they were coming out with the B1 and the B2, and basically it looks like a really utilitarian Hummer. The pickup truck's not any better. Well, apparently they've pulled the plug on this, and they won't be bringing these to production as they said they would. Instead, I guess they're kind of shifting their focus to the platform that they develop. It's not clear who they might be partnering with. I guess whatever this platform they've developed is at least good enough to have that keep going and partner with other people. So they're going to focus on that side of the business versus, designing this horrifically ugly SUV and pickup truck.
And this is what I used to always say that Tesla should have done, is they should have designed and perfected an electric vehicle platform and then sold it to all the other manufacturers to put their own body on top of.
That's the same model that Mercedes did with the Sprinter vans, and why they sold them to everybody under the sun, and why there's a Freightliner and a Dodge and a this and a that. That's the model, and I think that makes sense. We just talked about these vehicles last month, hot to trot on the EV list of EVs to get. And now it's already dead. I became completely disenfranchised, and I went straight to the comments looking for some levity in all of this. And I found my favorite troll post thus far, which is, don't feel bad about the loss of the B1 and the B2. If you really want one, just check out your local Lego store for $39.99 plus tax. I very much enjoyed that. So that made the article that much more worth it.
But sadly, Bollinger B2 pickup or Cybertruck? Because I'm leaning towards this Lego truck.
I have to agree with you on that, but there's something else I would lean completely towards, and I think that's the new Rivian.
That is a handsome, and you know me, I'm not a fan of pickup trucks.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Which one are we going to see first? This that we already know is suspended, or the Cybertruck? Which one hits production first?
Ooh,
It's hard.
that's hard to say. The Bollinger has regular windshield wipers, so it might
It
come
has
out first.
3 of them.
He's got 3 of them.
It's got an extra one.
It's got
That was their mistake. That's why they've had to pull the plug on this end. One extra
True,
windshield
true.
wiper.
We want to talk about the Rivian, other than the way it looks.
I think it's a handsome little pickup truck. I
I
mean, I think it does a good. It looks like a pickup truck, and that's what I kind of want to see with these electric pickup trucks. I want them to remind me that it's a pickup truck, not an N64 game. But then it changes the style enough with the front and the lights that it has that futuristic EV vibe to it.
I like it, but I like it in the same way I like my Jeep, in that it looks like a little hippopotamus, and that's okay because it does. Right, with those big nostrils in the front, it looks like a hippo, but that's okay. It's proportioned well. What I think is deceiving about the pictures is that this is probably the same size as the Maverick. I could be wrong. I don't think it's a 1500. I think it's slightly smaller. And if GM is involved with Rivian, this might be like a Jimmy. It might be that smaller, the S10 or the resurgence of the S10 or something like that. I'm okay with all of that. But to your point, I like it as well. What bugs me, though, is this latest ad campaign on the Rivian site, because it feels like we are following in the Broncos' footsteps, talking about the GOAT modes and all this stuff and the 8 modes and the terrains and this and that. And I'm like, let's just sell a truck.
I didn't take it that way. I thought it was an interesting video because I think, okay, Bronco, Ford, they're doing it for their GOAT mode, but I think to some extent, someone making an electric pickup truck has to come out with a video like this, because everyone who's a pickup truck enthusiast is going to be like, what a piece of crap. You're not going to take that off the road with electric motor, blah, blah, blah. And they have to demonstrate, right? And they're not doing anything really buck wild from a layperson's perspective. Brad, you can correct me because you're more off-road. I think it showcased well that it's going to be competent in different types of terrain, and I think they need to do that. I think they need to show that to people.
Yeah, it shows that it's as good off-road as any other standard pickup truck without any major off-road modifications or anything. One kind of impressive thing is when it does a little bit of rock crawling, just because of the approach angles are that of, very similar to a Bronco or a Jeep, at least on the front. The back end departure angle is not very good because the bumper hangs off so far. I agree with Tanya. It's to put the naysayers to rest before they can naysay.
I'm going to put it this way. When Tanya decides to go drive one, I will go with her, and it will be a pleasant experience. But you know what it's not going to hold a candle to? The next car on our list that we want to talk about.
The Fiat Panda.
Hey, that's a little mountain goat. Its big, bad granddaddy is this Land Rover Defender that has been converted to an EV. And I know there's a lot of people that are against doing that. This is a classic, kind of old school Defender. This thing is bad ass. This is the off-roader of off-roaders right here, right? That you can still fix with a spoon and a dull knife. This is cool. You got to check this article out, guys. I mean, it just looks awesome. It is awesome. I mean, if you're a fan of Landys, this is the way to go right here. I don't see any fault with this.
You aren't totally wrong by being able to fix it with a sharp spoon and a dull knife, because you can fix the Tesla power plant at Home Depot with some copper wire and a plastic tub and some wood bits.
Now, this is a Tesla conversion, so you can pull up to any Tesla charging station and all that kind of thing. But this is really cool. If you ask me, I would rather spend the kind of money that people are spending on converting old Astons and stuff like that, to EV, on something like this. And the interior of this thing is beautiful.
This is $300,000.
Again, for the money that is being spent on
you could get a Ferrari SUV in 2 years.
And a Corvette, even with the markup charge. But it's not a Landy, and this thing's pretty badass.
You could buy 20 Chevy Sparks.
All right. Well, we would be remiss
Dun dun dun.
This is a great segue into We Would Be Remiss, I would say.
Yes. So speaking of Tesla Motors, and we alluded to this, I think last month when we mentioned how suddenly you couldn't place orders anymore on the Cybertruck and whatnot, but it has now been officially confirmed that there will be no production in 2022 of the Cybertruck, the Roadster, or the Semi. They are going to apparently be focusing all their attention on full self-driving that's going to be, quote, better than a human.
Asterix and Elon's new rocket so he can go into space.
Which is ironic when the news this week has been showing footage, I guess that was finally released, of a Tesla crash from, I think, like a year ago, where it got confused by the police blinking lights and it just sideswiped a cruiser that was parked on the side of the road, nearly taking out the two officers that were standing next to it on the side of the road, mind you. A lot of damage.
Anybody out there that's looking for a Cybertruck, I have for sale a day one reservation. Reach to me with your best offer. No low
$1
I know what I have.
$1 about $1.
No, it has to be at least 100 of those.
So on your pre-order that you placed on your Cybertruck, let's pretend one day you actually get it. Are you gonna try and see if you can get a little add-on feature to it? A little bit of mood setting in your Cybertruck as you're cruising down the road?
Yeah, Brad. Are you gonna play with your butthole?
I think you mean tickle, and no.
So you would not be interested in the turn on Tesla mic feature that can be offered with your Tesla and turn your car into a karaoke machine.
Wait, what?
Have you all heard my voice? I do not have a voice for singing or karaoke, so no.
You've got that deep baritone.
Yes, but not quite
But
baritone.
he could have a barbershop quartet in his Tesla, so that's perfectly perfect.
Yes,
he'd be back there, boom, 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 boom.
I mean, apparently, we're just late to the party here. It's not offered in the US. This is something offered in China. Software update feature, something like that. And you can order a special microphone with Tesla written on it. And then, apparently you can karaoke in your car. I have nothing against karaoke. It's very fun. I don't know why you would be driving down the road and karaokeing, because that implies a lot of times you're reading the lyrics to songs you're less familiar with, because you can karaoke already in your car without a microphone.
This is needed because Tesla owners realize that the last thing they want to actually do is drive a Tesla, so they try to do everything else under the sun so they don't have to.
Tesla's also celebrating an anniversary, right?
Yes, it is. And not being under the sun, but sort of around the sun.
Around it.
Hundreds of millions of miles away, I guess, but closer. The Roadster was launched this week 4 years ago. So the Roadster and Spaceman are still out there orbiting.
Waiting for service at their local.
Waiting to be crash landed back, I guess, eventually. I don't know. There's nothing useful. No useful information to gain by I think positioning any telescopes or anything to check what this thing is doing. So nobody has. But they are speculating that it's probably been wrecked a few times, in the sense that asteroids or other meteors or objects have hit it.
I kind of want to see that.
I know. So now I'm can we please turn a telescope in his direction or something? Can we see if there's door panels missing, or the spaceman is...
What if the spaceman has no head? He's just
my gosh.
So I can't tell you what it looks like right now, but I can tell you where it is. And it is 234,675,760 miles from Earth, moving away from Earth at a speed of 2,455 miles an hour. And it is 197,769,713 miles from Mars.
Technically, I guess it has a record of most miles traveled, because it's traveled 2 billion miles almost.
I'm sorry, Porsche, but it also has the longest elevation change. So you lose again to Tesla. Ho hum. But I will say this car is no longer within its 36,000 mile factory warranty. So if you have to replace the battery, you might as well just blow it up.
Did they shoot it into space with the hazard lights on? Because that would have been so awesome. Just blinking away.
No, but the radio was playing, David Bowie. So
Pretty sure that cut out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was going to
It probably
say.
cut out when it left the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my expectations have been thoroughly lowered. What else is in the news?
I do have one expectation that I want to explain. It's more of a PSA about the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I think last month I panned the way the new Jeep Grand Cherokees look, saying that they were too long and they looked stupid and I didn't like them or whatever. I will say that I have seen more of them on the road, and the more that I see the new Grand Cherokee, granted, I'm not talking about the Wagoneer. I think I've only seen one Wagoneer on the road, but I have seen several of the Grand Cherokees, and I'm coming around on their design. I'm starting to like them more. I've seen them in different trim packages, a little bit bigger wheels, some knobbier tires. They definitely look, I'm starting to come around on the design. So
Yeah, you're right.
PSA.
I mean, after a while of seeing so many Geico Caveman commercials, decided that he was charming and cute. You know, it's the same thing with the Grand Cherokee. It's got this weird, it's the grill because it bends back in on itself. It's, I don't know, it's odd. Like, it hasn't grown on me yet, but then again, I've seen a bunch of them in the wild. I mentioned it last month when we talked about it. I mean, good for Jeep. I almost wish that the Cherokee Nation had come through and said, do not call this a Cherokee, because I don't feel it should wear the badge, right? It feels like it's a step away, especially with the 3 rows. It should just be the Wagoneer. Like, I don't know. It's my personal opinion, but
they should just bring back the Commander name. That seems to be what a lot of people are doing when they move from Native American names to.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other thing I did see, to your point about the Grand Cherokee, I also happened to see the new Cherokee on the road, kind of the smaller version. They've made it bigger. It's more like the old Grand Cherokee, not nearly as big. It's not bad. It's proportioned well. They got rid of the 3 headlights and all this crazy stuff that was going on. They continue to refine it. They're playing a little badge engineering, I feel like, but we'll see what happens. Who knows, right?
You ever get tired of driving in traffic? Just wish you could,
Yes.
have a helicopter and
Yes.
just zoom to where you need to be, avoid all the congestion. Well, look out. Another disruptor on the way. Thinking EVs are the future. Well, what about the air car?
No.
What about a car that transforms into a small aircraft so you can take off, take flight, get to your destination, land back down, convert back into a car, and drive that final distance?
How many times is this idea going to come up in the history of the automotive world and never get off the ground? But they've been trying this since the 60s.
It's been successful because it has passed the Slovak transport authorities' rigorous flight testing in Slovakia.
Oh, okay.
Which that testing is equivalent, just for anybody who's in doubt, compatible with the European Aviation Safety Agency standards. So we're on to something here.
How big is the no-fly zone in Slovakia?
Also, this thing is powered by a BMW engine. Does that change your mind?
Yeah, because then it'll fall out of the sky halfway through flight.
Well, we know it's an inline motor, so we're good there.
Bad enough driving and having to worry about the person next to you, the person behind you, the person in front of you, the deer that could run out. And now you have to worry about the person above you. I mean, this is great reason to have a moonroof so that you can be constantly checking above you to see if an air car is going to fall on your head.
Well, when we get a little further into this episode, we're going to hear more about you having to worry about the people above you anyway. But I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, how does it convert? Where are the wings? I don't get it.
It's a helicopter.
With
called
wings,
a helicopter.
and I see a picture of it without wings, but I don't see.
You get out and you pull the
converting.
panel off, and then it has a track that you slide it in the back in the trunk.
I trust an aviation device that I've put together. Yes, that's exactly what I want.
It's just like those guys in Japan where you see them walking away from the train station with their 11 by 17 briefcase and it suddenly turns into a mountain bike. There's nothing else in the briefcase. I don't know where the wheels were stored or anything else, but it's just like that.
It's just like that, except it's nothing like that.
100%. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to retire this thought. We're going to put a pin in it, and we're going to invite our guests to jump on a special Patreon minisode where we continue this conversation completely unfiltered for your enjoyment, to not suck up the entirety of the drive-through. We implore you to jump over to patreon.com/GT Motorsports to continue that conversation. Well, I think it's time that we move on to rich people things.
I don't know if this is really rich people things, but we've lumped it under this category. For anyone who's a fan of Lego, which, okay, I mean, some Lego sets are definitely a rich people thing, but they have a Speed Champions line in the Lego brand, and they've come out with a new lineup in 2022. So if you're looking to add to your collection, this year we'll be releasing the Lotus Evija, the Lamborghini Countach, the 1970 Ferrari 512M, the Mercedes AMG F1 W12E Performance, alongside the Mercedes AMG Project One. I think that's 2 in 1 set. And then the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro, along with the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 in 1 set together.
That's a heck of a lineup there.
These range about $20 for the single, but when they're in the 2-pack, it's $30 or $40.
I forget the scale. Like they're almost like 1/24th. So they're about 6-7 inches long, not as big as a 1/18 scale car. So it's actually a good size model if you're not interested in, die casts or anything like that. And if you want to play Legos or whatever, it's pretty cool. I have a couple myself. I haven't unboxed them yet. They are pretty neat. I'm glad to see that Lego's putting some more attention and effort into supporting the motorsports community with Legos. I think it's pretty neat.
So the other rich people thing, which I definitely rich people thing or not, I think it is Cyber Quad for kids.
What?
Cyber what? Huh? Tesla? Yes.
Cyber WAD?
Quad, 4-wheel ATV. And it's cyber. So it's got the look of the Cybertruck. So it's the Cyber Quad. And obviously it's battery powered, electric. It's got the lithium ion battery, has 15 miles of range, top speed of 10 miles an hour. It's suitable for 8 years old and up. These are no longer available. They're out of stock right now. I think they just started
in stock.
They started shipping out the end of 21 in December. So I believe people have already started receiving them. You can actually go on eBay. People are already trying to resell them for more. But what do you think this costs, this Power Wheels?
Power Wheels. How many Dogecoin do I need to spend to buy this?
You say that, but the item number on this is 14135 Doge.
So then it's 1,135 Doge. That's how much it costs.
Okay, well then I guess the equivalency in USD is 1,900.
What? Actually, for a quad, is that right on par, Brad? What do you think? No? What's a quad cost these days? Yamaha or something. What do they cost?
So the top one to get the Razor, I believe, the Razor Dirt Quad, which also does 10 miles an hour, is $700.
Wow, okay.
And it's an electric ATV.
That's a bit of a dealer markup there on that.
So I'm not sure what you're getting for $1,900 that you couldn't get in the Razor.
Well, you're getting the actual Cyber Quad.
I mean, okay, you're getting a Tesla product for your kid.
So I want to know how the wiper blades work on this.
It doesn't have wiper blades.
Oh, perfect. Excellent work.
It doesn't need them. It doesn't have a windshield.
So on our special breakaway mini-sode of this particular drive-through, we talked about all sorts of crazy people and driving in the city. But I think we have to return to our normal crazies down in Florida.
And in defense of Florida, we love you, just as we love every state. I did try to find news out of other states. I tried really hard. I looked through a lot. And unfortunately, once again, a lot of the good stuff is coming out of Florida. I can't help that. Okay. Can't hold me responsible for this completely. It's not all Florida news. So I'm going to save, there's some good ones that have not come out of Florida, actually, not come out of the United States. Spoiler alert. So we'll get to those. But we'll start with this guy. This is like the stupid criminal file. Like, you clearly have done something wrong because you have an ankle monitor and you're out and about in a red side-by-side, and then you start knocking on people's doors because your ankle monitor battery is running low. So of course you need to get that bad boy charged back up, because if it runs out of juice, suddenly the alarms are going to go off and Popo going to come after you, right? Well, I guess people started reporting like, hey, this, dude's coming around. Yeah, that side-by-side was stolen. So, he got arrested trying to charge his ankle monitor up while going around on a stolen I'm thinking his original felony was probably also grand theft, but hey,
Yeah.
He
one.
also has an extensive history, including battery, burglary, and grand theft.
He's a stand-up guy, you know. He's just misunderstood.
He's a class act.
Now, this next one also involves some grand theft, but a little bit of a different spin. So, you know, people like to go out and party, and it's Florida. There ain't no rules. So, hey, everything's open. So, you know, you're out at the bar late one night, doing as you do. Unfortunately, you've had a few too many, and the responsible person would pick up the phone, although maybe they've used it as a sun visor too many times during the day, and, you know, the battery's dead. I don't know. You'd call an Uber, get you home. Now, this guy, you know, upon exiting drunk, he couldn't find his car. And you're thinking, yes, you shouldn't be driving anyway. No. This guy's a problem solver. Can't find his car? Let me just steal a car and go look for my car in the stolen car. But while I steal this car, and I believe it was like, what was it? Was it a Honda Fit? So anyway, he steals this car, proceeds to, I don't know, stall it somehow on a railroad track. And then a train comes along and the train hits the car and launches it into somebody's house. And this is at night.
Whoa.
So as the picture shows, this car is like up on its tail, smashed, demolished by the train in the side of this person's house. And then he proceeds to run away on foot. Vandalizes a fruit cart and then tries to steal.
Wait. How does one vandalize a fruit cart?
He vandalized the fruit stand and then he stole the forklift that was at the fruit stand and tried to get away.
Because the money was in the banana stand. That's why.
You're saying vandalize, not sodomize.
Oh, that's brutal.
But he told the cops. He made sure to let them know that he was looking for his stolen car.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
He flagged them down to tell them he was looking for his stolen car. So it's all okay.
Dude, where's my car?
It's because two wrongs make a right, right?
Oh my goodness. I don't
Two
know
less
where
make it
people
right.
too much to drink that person had apparently.
Not enough to
Okay.
drink that person had. That person should have had enough to black out.
Vandalized a fruit cart.
Next Florida.
Florida people in general, I guess apparently are going to get very disappointed here pretty soon because I think up until very recently, Florida is one of the few states remaining that essentially doesn't have rules around what you can write on your vanity plate.
Oh no.
And so now they're changing their minds on that and they're going to regulate it, might be recalling people's tags that are already out there. And they've already denied 500 applications last year, I guess when they started cracking down on bad vanity plates. And some of them, it's like, okay, clever, 2020, WTF, FU 2020, okay, haha. And okay, slow, POS, shitbox was another one, like... All right, you're just having commentary on yourself. I don't know. And then they just get a little bit weird. You know, there's some political commentary ones in there. And then there's Drug Man. I don't think you should probably be advertising for your possibly illegal habits.
Hey, man, that's marketing.
Marketing, right? Dead AF. Not sure what that is supposed to signify. I mean, Killer. Here's another one that could be marketing for themselves, not in a good way. Fat AF. FTBSTRD.
It's fat bastard.
Yep. FK diet. Okay. These people are like personally attacking themselves. It's very strange. Then the weirdest one, T Bundy. Like,
Oh.
really?
I get this one though. I get it though.
Brown Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the shout out to the girls over at Sinisterhood. You need to listen to the Ted Bundy episode or multiple episodes on Ted Bundy. So this all gets explained on their podcast, and that is clever, but also creepy.
They didn't say that it went on a brown Volkswagen. They're saying how creepy would it have been had the application been on a.
I skimmed. No, and then I wonder if. Okay.
Yeah.
Reading
But yes, creepy. So yeah, apparently they're cracking down on that. So can't imagine what the other plates that have gone through in the past must say.
Way to go, Florida. Way to try and class things up.
Well, apparently there's some other states that are buck wild already. So
There's a tag idea right there, buck wild.
buck wild, that's safe though. There's nothing bad about that. I don't think. All right, so now we're gonna go north to our
Ooh.
Canadian friends.
The Canada ones are always good.
Because they always, I think so much better of Canadians. And then when I see stuff like this, I'm just like, Canada. Oh, Canada.
It's all like
Why?
Letterkenny. It's Letterkenny. It's not. I'm kidding. I love Canada. I enjoy visiting there.
This woman somehow, bless her heart, ends up some sort of frozen water body. I think a river. She ends up on this river in her bright yellow Scion, from what I can tell in that picture. But then the ice breaks, and so the car starts sinking. Now, you think a sane person would be like, time to get the FO, GTFO this thing. No. She stands on the back of the car, proceeds to take a selfie. As everybody else is trying to like come to her rescue and call police and do whatever. She's just chilling as her car is sinking, taking selfies.
I mean, you got to capture the moment. That's for the gram, as Brad would say, for the gram. What other time in your life would you get the opportunity to stand on a sinking Scion and take a picture of yourself?
I mean, this one Twitter person, I think, summarized it pretty well. She captured the moment with a selfie while people hurried and worried to help her. Yeah, 100%. They should have just left her there.
But then the best part is it's like Inception, right? Because there's a picture of some other person with their cell phone taking a picture of her on her cell phone doing the selfie thing. So it's like this cascading failure. For the gram!
I have saved the absolute best, I think, for last. I think this has got to be tops. And this comes from our friends across the pond in the UK.
Oh.
Where apparently an Englishman's home is his castle, and that pretty much stands up in court as defense.
Really?
So this man who's got this estate, farmland or whatever, he's a farmer.
Not Jeremy Clarkson.
Fourth generation hill farmer, this man. Cutting to the chase, he uses essentially a telehandler, so like a forklift, a telehandler with a fork on the front end, so like a forklift, and he flips and pushes some guy's car off his property that refused to move his car out of his driveway. Watch the video. There is a video of it. This is epic. This dude's car got like a flat or broke down, asked him repeatedly to move. The driver, I think, didn't get into an altercation, but this other dude that was his friend showed up who was drunk and shirtless and like allegedly punched the guy first, which I guess he was like, nope, forklift telehandler thing, I'm gonna take care of y'all. And he pushed it out into the road, turned it onto the side of the road, and just like left it there.
That is awesome.
And he was taken to court, but the charges were all dismissed because he
Damn.
was protecting his castle.
Before we move on, did you all watch the end of the video? He hit the guy with the forklift.
Oh yeah. Well, he turned the forklift and the guy was standing there. Yeah.
No, he hit the guy with the forklift. Yeah, the guy was standing there. He knew the guy was standing there, and he turned the forklift pretty rapidly. More power to him. You know what? Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. Well, that being said, I think it's time that we go behind the wall for some motorsports news. So what's going on in the world of NASCAR, Tanya? Not something you usually report about.
No, it's just something that came across Netflix apparently on the 22nd of February. They're going to be airing a docuseries. It's 6 episodes. It's called Race Bubba Wallace. So it's a docuseries on the NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace and his NASCAR journey thus far. Not really much other information in the preview for it, but one can only imagine.
Well, maybe we'll have to take a look at it and talk about it on the next drive-through, right? But speaking of other dramas on television, what about Formula One? What's going on over there, Brad? What's the big news?
All the manufacturers or all the teams are releasing their new 2022 cars. I think Haas was the first team to do it. And yeah, I mean, all the cars pretty much look the same. They're all cool. I believe the wheels are bigger. I mean, the tires are bigger than they have been previously. So that should help. So I'm just going to have to wait and see how they perform in some way, make the racing more exciting. We're going to go ahead and see.
We always say that every year. I hear that phrase, we're going to make the racing more exciting. Has that ever proven to be true?
Since since Bernie Ecclestone or Ecclestein, whatever his name is no longer in charge, and that other Sky Sports or whatever took it over, they have made some improvements. And actually, this year is the first year where they implemented a lot of different changes, especially to the cars and stuff. So I think it could be good. Last year, they were playing around at a lot of the races with the sprint race as a qualifying race. I think that was really cool. Inadvertently, or without their even trying, some of the races ended up almost in like a reverse grid because of red flags and stuff like that on the restart, which was super exciting. But that wasn't anything that they actually did. It was just kind of a coincidence thing. They are trying to make changes. Some of them make it more exciting, but it depends on what you're looking for in racing. Some of our F1 fans hate the idea of the sprint race because it takes away from the actual qualifying, and it adds nothing really. It discourages someone from actually trying to qualify, and have the fastest lap. I'm going to watch anyway. I like F1 racing. I think it's much more exciting than that bit IndyCar.
I thought the new Formula cars were Indy cars. They really look similar. I've looked at.
They look identical, but
the McLarens, the Astons. I was like, man, that's a cool livery on that Indy car you guys got there, and like whatever. But to your point about making the racing more exciting and the changes, my hot take on this is, if you want the racing to be more exciting, get rid of all this balance of power nonsense. What the people want, what the fans want, is not everybody to be the same. This isn't go-kart racing. This isn't even NASCAR for that respect. And NASCAR, I think, should change too. Let people build their cars. We're going to talk about here with Rolex, and actually we should probably maybe transition to Rolex at the same time. When they did the balance of power on the Corvettes, if you can't build a car that competes, build a better car. Stop penalizing everybody. If you're following the marks of the rules, build a better car.
The only caveat to that is, I would say, institute some sort of budget to keep some of that. I mean, there's a huge disparity in the amount of money that some of these race teams have. Like, obviously, the factory teams like Mercedes are going to have a significant budget compared to a team like Haas.
Why don't we split F1 down the middle and do like they did in WRC, where it's WRC1 and WRC2? So there's F1A and F1B.
It's essentially what it is. There's the best and then the best of the rest. But that's an unofficial thing. It's not official.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with that.
But look at it this way. If it was cheaper for Williams to develop, like they did in the 70s, like a 6-wheeled Formula car and have it be a V12, let them do it. Who cares? Like this whole cookie cutter, everybody's got the same car with different skin on it. It doesn't do anything for me. This is why I stopped being interested in Formula One, was right after the V10 era, where all the cars were basically the same. And during the V10 era, it was still different enough. Ferrari still had their motors. BMW had their motors. Renault had their motors. And they were all different enough, and they performed differently. Some were better than others. To your point, Ferrari has deep pockets, things like that. But once they decided to make all the F1 cars cookie cutter, I'm done. I checked out. I don't care. I see that in a lot of other racing, and it hurts me because I think it takes away from the technological progression. It takes away from the ingenuity. It takes away from the originality. And when you're looking at the cars, you're like, well, what's the difference between the Aston and the Honda? There should be a clear delineation between what they are and what they're capable of, not the same thing.
Here it is. So there is a team spending cap. It's down to 140 million from 175 in 2020.
Oh, damn. Is that all?
To help level the playing field for smaller teams like Haas as they go up against outfits with relatively unlimited resources like Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, which used to spend upwards of 400 million annually. So yes, they're instituting that as well as all these other changes to kind of more.
Here's the underdog story, right? Ferrari spends 400 million and they get their butts handed to them by Williams, who can only spend 175. So who cares? Let them spend $1 billion if they want to, but build a better mousetrap. Figure out a way to do it. And you know where it comes from? The better engineers are the ones that do more with less. That's been proven time and time again. The cars that succeed are the ones that were built with less, and they got more out of them than the folks that had deep pockets. That's the Porsche story. That's the early Italian sports car stories where they didn't have anything and they built from nothing. So I think we've gone away from that, and it takes away from the racing, in my opinion, because it's like watching a video game, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute too. I want to talk about Rolex before we transition to some WRC news. I mentioned the, balance of power. A couple of times we talked about the Corvette. I thought that was, I hate to say, sort of pathetic. Like, I really felt bad for Team Corvette. I don't know why they were trying to or they were forced to step down to meet the new rules or whatever. Maybe the Corvette's in this weird gray area where it should really be like a GT2 car, which doesn't exist. This kind of, I just felt like, meh, it didn't really help. The field was bigger than it's been in a number of years, but I also wasn't impressed. I'm not happy with this LMP3 thing. It just feels like there's more of the same cars on the track and there's no variation on the theme, stuff like that. What do you think, Brad, at least of the lineup and stuff like that for Rolex?
I thought the top level was fun.
Yeah.
To watch. The DPI class was a lot of fun.
I give you that.
The Acuras and the Cadillacs go at each other. That was cool. Corvette, I don't know, because I don't know if I fully understand the rule changes with that. It was my understanding that both the GTD and the GTT Pro cars are basically classed the same now.
Yeah.
The only difference is the driver's skill, really. If that's the case, I mean, again, with the balance of power or balance of performance or whatever it is, I haven't looked too much into it and how it affected Corvette this race. I don't know. Overall, I thought the race was fun to watch. The bits that I did watch, the ending with the 911s was insane.
The front of the pack end of the race wasn't nearly as important as the battle between those two 911s. That was legitimately awesome racing. Those last 18 minutes where they're battling back and forth, bump drafting, pushing each other, and inevitably it ends in a cloud of smoke and disappointment. It was epic. The front of the pack, I could have cared less what was happening between Acura and Cadillac and all that stuff, because that race was already over. By the time the second place car had dropped back a couple seconds, I was like, they're never going to make that up. And I'm glad the cameras turned their attention to the GTLM cars, because that was exciting. I waited 23 hours and 40 minutes for that 20 minutes of action. And it's a shame that it had to come at that point. And there was cool stuff that happened in the middle of the night. But I think the thing that made the race a complete drag was these extended yellows. And I watched most of the race. I only got a couple hours of sleep. And so I was tuned in for a lot of it. It was incredible. I think there were over 20 yellows in the whole race, but they went on forever. And it was just like, what are we still doing under yellow? And then we come out of yellow and then we go into another yellow. And it's like, oh, holy crud. And it just, there were parts of the race that were just painful, but that ending definitely made up the difference. Going back to the balance of power, I felt bad for Corvette. And this isn't a slight against Lexus, but when the Lexuses are walking away from the Corvettes, I was like, something's wrong. Either cars are busted or whatever. And again, it's not a slight against Lexus, but it's just that Lexus has been riding that same car for what feels like forever. And I'm sure they've made advances and whatever, but I don't want to say that the Lexus isn't competitive, but it's not winning GTLM. The front runners have been Porsche and Corvette and BMW and things like that. They're always just sort of there, but to see the Corvette just getting walked by the Lexus, which is tried and true, it's kind of always there. Like I said, it hurt a little bit to see that. And I don't know what's going on. Hopefully they'll figure that all out. A couple of things that I thought were interesting. The safety car that color was heinous. I mean, I know that it has to stand out, but that BMW did not look good in whatever that yellow was. Please repaint that car, rewrap it. Oh God, that was awful. The other thing was I had a hard time differentiating between the new Benzes and the 911s, because from behind they look a lot alike. The rear end of the 911 is so big now. I don't know. So that was hard to tell them apart when they were in traffic. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was John Pearson. Apparently he's 15-year-old. Next year he's going to be the youngest driver in Rolex history. So I thought that was pretty cool. They did a spot with him for a couple of minutes, kind of interviewed him. I'd love to know what his backstory is. At 15, going to be 16 years old next year, how do you go from high school to driving Rolex? Well, yes. Okay. The answer is obvious. But I still think it's pretty cool. I'd love to know what that backstory is. So 23 is going to be an awesome year. There's a lot of new cars coming. I'm really curious to see how Rolex shapes up if the teams that are going to go to Le Mans are going to use Rolex as their test race, because it's going to make for a really exciting Rolex next year. I'm cautiously optimistic. But I think it's time we switch to some WRC news. What do you got, Tanya?
Isabelle Galmiche, a French co-driver in rally. She teamed up recently with Sebastian Loeb and has become, I guess, maybe the second woman, or at least the first woman in the last 25 years to co-drive at Monte Carlo rally and be in the winning car. So congrats to her. And she's got an interesting story that this is not her full-time gig. She kind of moonlights as a co-driver, and she has for many years. So first time competing with in the right seat with Sebastian Loeb. So good for her. Her day job is a math teacher.
That's awesome.
And she's very humble sounding. She doesn't want to have a lot of us and muss about any of this or bring the trophy into school to show anybody. She just kind of wants to go about her day.
And, you know, a lot of people that may not be intimate with how WRC works and rally, you know, there's two people in the car, they're going flat out, you know, crazy on these mountain roads. And the navigator's job is super important. It's actually even more difficult than the driving in the sense that they keep the pace and the rhythm of the run itself, of the pass, right? They're giving out instructions to the driver in advance because there's on many occasions, the driver only sees the run one time, and it's usually in a passenger vehicle at lower speed. And what they're doing on that one run is taking notes about the course, about the elevations, the camber, where there's holes, where you need to turn in, where to watch out, what's on the exit of the corner. And those hieroglyphs, those instructions that they write are super important. It's a very complex type of shorthand that they use, and they need to be able to obviously remember that, but also come to an agreement with their driver on what the turn is, what they're going to do. So she's got a really difficult job working with any of the drivers, but even a world champion like Sebastian Loeb, I mean, it's an honor and a privilege, but also it's a challenge, right? So obviously they don't have a language barrier because they're both French. I'm proud of her. I mean, it's a tough job, and being in the right seat and not really looking also where you're going and just reading that book line after line and being on those difficult stages and crazy weather conditions and all that. It's a tough job. I don't think I could I don't think I have the stomach for it, honestly, because I'd probably get sick, you know, just trying to do that in the passenger seat. But to your point about the last time it was done, and I might be wrong about my WRC knowledge, but I think it goes almost as far back as Michèle Mouton and Fabrizia Pons as winning female co-driver navigator at Monte Carlo. It might be that far back, which is 35 plus years.
He said it was Fabrizia Pons with Piero Liatti in 1997.
So after she left Michelle, yeah, okay. But it was Fabrizia then, it's still the same navigator as it was for Michèle Mouton. So there you go. I mean, she's famous as, you know, one of the early female rally navigators. So that's awesome. It's good to see that. And we want to promote that. And I know she doesn't want the glory, but, you know, I'm proud of her. That's awesome. It's a tough job. It's a thankless job. That's for sure. So a little bit of news from the esports world, right, Brad?
Yeah, I guess if you're a PlayStation person, which I'm not, but GT7, Gran Turismo 7 is coming out. So it is going to be released on March 4th of this year. It brings with it 400 cars at 34 different locations with 90 different layouts. It's going to be available on both the PS4 and the PS5. And yeah, if you play Gran Turismo for some reason over Forza, then, you know, this is your bag.
I'm just curious, how long have they been waiting for this new version of Gran Turismo to come out?
I mean, the last Gran Turismo I saw was Gran Turismo Sport, which that one was, I think it was all supposed to be like multiplayer online racing based and not much of like a campaign or anything like you get with all the other Forzas and everything. I don't know.
Apparently this one they're going back to the heyday of Gran Turismo, which I guess would be like what, Gran Turismo 3?
Two or three, something like that.
Two or three. So I think they've kind of gone back to that campaign mode style, and they've added back in a lot of the other, I guess, side features that had, which were kind of the nifty, silly things that was Gran Turismo, like buying the used cars. And
I thought that was the coolest thing.
Doing mods and like all that kind of stuff. So they're bringing that back in.
I like the wheel swapping was my favorite. You could get wheels off of other cars.
Washing your car.
Yeah, you could wash your car. That was pretty cool.
One of my biggest gripes with the most recent Gran Turismo was the track selection. I guess because Forza has so many tracks tracks under contract and are under licensing, or they own licensing to all these different tracks. As HPDE people, we drive a whole bunch of different tracks around the country and everything, and you couldn't drive some of those in Gran Turismo because they just didn't have them. I don't know that there were any tracks that I was actually interested in Gran Turismo.
I think that's still the case in 7 because I had pulled up a track list and they really don't. It seemed like a high percentage of what seemed like made up tracks versus actual tracks. Forza seems to have a lot more actual tracks.
When I was a kid, I used to love driving those made up tracks because I didn't know any better. But now that I've actually been on a real racetrack, this doesn't interest me at all.
Oh, you don't want to drive Autumn Valley or whatever that is? You know, Forza has Maple Valley, right? So it's all good.
Autumn Grove.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I don't care.
So let's switch over to our HPD Junkie Trackside report. I got a note from Dave Peters the other day. You know, they are still backfilling tons of events into the system for the 2022 season. It feels like a lot of people are making up for lost time. He told me the other day that at Thunder Hill alone, they just entered 75 events. And apparently there's like 80 more for that track itself this year. And I'm like, they must be doing something every day of the week out there in California. So he's keeping up to date on that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more information being pushed to the website right now. So if you want to know what's going on in February and March, hop over to hpdjunkie.com and search by track to make it much easier to say, hey, what's going on in my area? And you can actually see what's going on from now until the end of the year. And obviously it continues to prune itself, expand and contract and all that. But I do want to announce on behalf of our sponsors over at Hooked on Driving, as a reminder, they are going to be at VIR at the beginning of March on March 3rd and March 4th. This is like one of the earliest events in the DMV on the schedule right now. There might be something a little bit earlier, but that's pretty early for this area to have a track event, followed very soon after by New Jersey Motorsports Park. They're going to be at Thunderbolt on April 9th and 10th. And then 2 weeks after that, they'll be at Watkins Glen for a 3-day spring fling from April 29th, 30th, and May 1st. So they're doing their fall event in the spring as well now, 3 days at Watkins Glen. And then it goes from there, right? They're at Pocono a couple more times. They're at Lime Rock and Summit Point. You know, Summit Point is back on the schedule. They're at Shenandoah for June 18th and 19th and things like that. And I also want to give a shout out to Mike and Mona. They're actually going to be on the show next week, kicking off season 3. So you get to hear all about HOD and what their program is like, and some really cool behind the scenes content where Mike actually turns the tables on me and interviews me during that behind the scenes Patreon minisode. So be sure to check that out next week when it hits our main server. You know, I mentioned this is the end of season 2. This is the last episode of season 2. And I just wanted to kind of just do a quick retrospective for the folks that may be listening to the show for the first time. You know, this is going to be the first episode at the top of the list. If you want to go back and want to know when season 2 started, look for the Vet Motorsports episode with Peter Klein, right, where we talk about their program to get disabled veterans back into the motorsports world and all these kinds of programs that they have and how they facilitate that and whatnot.
We also had What Should I Buy? Ugly Cars, parts 1 and 2, and 90s cars.
We kicked off an entire crossover month in the middle of the summer. We had Brian from Take Two Podcast on. We talked about a bunch of car related movies and shows and things like that. We had Stephen Izzy from Everything I Learned from Movies on twice this season. We had a lot of fun with them. We look forward to doing more projects in the future. John Warner IV, author of the Little Anton series and noted Porsche historian. He also has a podcast. We did a crossover with him. And a shout out to Carolyn Ford and Mark Sinnell from the Tech Transforms podcast, where we talked about the intersection of IT and the racing world as a crossover episode as well.
We also had a ton of interviews, awesome interviews with Rob Holland, Bobby Parks, David Middleton, Chris Bright from CPX, and our favorite You Got a guy, Paul Wilimowski.
Yeah, we did a ton of technical episodes too. We had Andrew Rains on from Apex Pro. We interviewed the folks over at Liqui Moly. We talked to Blackstone Joe over at Blackstone Labs, which was also a crossover episode. We interviewed James Clay, both for PowerFlex and for Bimmer World. And we talked to Sal Finelli over at Porsche Diesel USA.
And to prove that we do more than just take laps and do HPDE, we talked off-roading, we talked drag racing, we talked lunar racing. I mean, who talks lunar racing these days?
We do. That's who. We also celebrated Gingerman Raceway's 25th anniversary, and we did a retrospective with Summit Point looking back over their 50-year history, dove into both of the backgrounds of those tracks and their evolutions and what the future looks like for those two facilities.
And there are 56 episodes to catch up on from season 2 alone, not counting all of the bonus and behind the scenes content if you sign up for Patreon.
You know, I can't pick a best of articles for season 2 because there are 640 drive-through articles that we have reviewed on this particular sub-arc of the Break Fix podcast. So there's a lot to catch up on there. They're a lot of fun. And don't forget, one of our favorite linked to the drive-through episodes has to be this year's We Would Be Remiss retrospective, where Tanya rants about all things Tesla.
And we would love to give some big shout outs to all our guest hosts during season 2, David Drew Andrews, David L. Middleton, Donovan Lara, Mark Shank, Mountain Man Dan, and especially Tanya. Yeah, we have to shout out Tanya for helping us out, especially while I've been away.
And if you've missed out some of the winter episodes on the podcast, we celebrated our 100th episode with a crossover with our friend Steve and Izzy from Everything I Learned from Movies, where we reviewed the 70s cult classic Corvette Summer. Andrew Bank and Mike Kuchavik from Havoc Performance told the tale of two vipers. We cranked up the Wayback Machine by revisiting a Patreon minisode called Toro Toro, where we chat with Jason Kennedy from Auto Interests about their humble beginnings in the Ford Taurus Club. Thank you to everyone that came on the show this month, and please look forward to more great episodes this spring. And don't forget, March officially kicks off season 3. Can you believe it?
I don't know. Can you believe it? So we do have some new Patreons for February. What do we got there, Brad?
We've got to give a big shout out to Todd, the Sabertooth Goat Tiger Lily. And he's also the recipient of this year's GTMer Award. So if you're a Patreon member, you would have heard the GTM Awards night that was recorded during Rolex. He would have heard his name. We also have a special thanks to our new sponsor, Mike Kuchavik of Havoc Performance.
That's right. And remember, folks, everything that we talked about on this episode and more is available on our website, gtmotorsports.org. So be sure to check on the follow-on article so you can dive into all the Florida man stories, Tesla technological advancements, or maybe that Ferrari SUV that we talked about. So that's all available on our website. There's links pretty much everywhere. And remember, there's bonus and behind-the-scenes contents on patreon.com. So that's patreon.com/GT Motorsports.
And we would be remiss if we didn't shout out some anniversaries. This year is 8 years with GTM. It's Tanya and I. Eric, of course, is a lifelong GTMer, but it's officially 8 years as well. We also have some other OG original gangster GTMers like Mountain Man Dan and Porsche Al. That's it.
Well, we didn't have a special guest host this month as we close out season 2, but look forward to other returning guests in season 3, some really cool stuff that we have planned, some exciting new interviews, racers, and other ideas that we're going to put together for season 3. As we've mentioned before, if you have an interest on being on the show, don't hesitate to reach out to us, call or text, email us, etc. But if you'd like to be a guest host on the drive-through, we always have a spot, and you're always welcome to come on and share your opinion, share your stories. We'd love to have you. So I guess I got a shout out to Brad. Thanks for being here, closing out 56 long episodes of season 2, and I'm looking forward to where season 3 takes us.
Well, thank you for having me back. I appreciate my spot not being permanently taken. But also,
it's a big spot to fill, my man. There's big shoes.
It's a very big seat to fill, I must admit. And then also a shout out to the executive producer, co-host, and owner of the podcast, whether she likes it or not, Tanya.
Whether she knows it or not.
The drive-through wouldn't be the drive-through without Tanya, that's for sure. We'd all be living in Florida.
Yeah, and all the members who support GTM, without you, none of this would be.
That's right. Well, until next season, I guess this is us signing off. Thanks for being aboard for all of season 2.
Watch out for that sunshine.
And we're out.
Well, here we are in the drive-through line, me and her. Cars in front of us, cars in back of us, all just waiting to order. There's some idiot in a Volvo with his bright sun behind me. I lean out the window and scream, hey, what you trying to do, blind me? My wife says maybe we should pause.
If you like what you've heard and want to learn more about GTM, be sure to check us out on www.gtmotorsports.org. You can also find us on Instagram at Grand Touring Motorsports. Also, if you want to get involved or have suggestions for future shows, you can call or text us at 202-630-1770 or send us an email at crewchief@gtmotorsports.org. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey everybody, Crew Chief Eric here. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Break Fix, and we wanted to remind you that GTM remains a no annual fees organization, and our goal is to continue to bring you quality episodes like this one at no charge. As a loyal listener, please consider subscribing to our Patreon for bonus and behind-the-scenes content, extra goodies, and GTM swag. For as little as $2.50 a month, you can keep our developers, writers, editors, casters, and other volunteers fed on their strict diet of Fig Newtons, gummy bears, and Monster. Consider signing up for Patreon today at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. And remember, without fans, supporters, and members like you, none of this would be possible.